live, just like that.
Oh yeah. Good morning, bro.
So, hey, thanks for making the trip out. Thanks for doing this. I know you came out here for some unrelated business stuff, but I figured it'd be a good opportunity to knock a podcast out and share your story, because I think your story will resonate with a lot of people.
I agree. And just really looking forward to talking about Jiu-Jitsu and what it's done for me. And I think a lot of people would be surprised. And, I know a lot of people like, oh, Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Well, if you are thinking about Jiu-Jitsu or don't know anything about Jiu-Jitsu, that's who should listen to this.
Yeah, so I'll be sure to try and push that out to people that are kind of on the fence, because I actually get a lot of good feedback when I do Jiu-Jitsu related episodes. And at first I was like, Jiu-Jitsu is a very niche market. So as far as putting out a product that is geared primarily towards Jiu-Jitsu, I was like, I wonder how that will resonate with listeners. But I mean, the podcast has grown, and obviously it's grown in a manner with people that enjoy the content that I put out. And being a Jiu-Jitsu person, I get tons of positive feedback every time I do a Jiu-Jitsu episode. So, and a lot of people, like half of my DMs that I receive from people inquiring about different things about the show or about my life are people that are thinking about starting the Jiu-Jitsu journey.
Yeah, and my Jiu-Jitsu journey started with listening to you, and exactly that. There were a few things you said that like really resonated with me, and I was kind of on the fence at the time. And it can be like really scary for people, like, walking in this gym, there's all these savages in there. Let's face it, Jiu-Jitsu is very complex. You're not going to go in there the first day and come out and feel like you achieved any sort of success. You're going to come out the first day and be really confused and probably drive home without the car radio on and your aches and pains. And the next day you're going to hobble to get a cup of coffee and that's Jiu-Jitsu. So
let me ask you this then. So for people listening, me and Ron met at Guns and Gis class 1.
Right.
You attended our inaugural course, and then you came to, was it class 2 or class 3?
Class 2, came back in May.
Okay. So for everybody listening, when me and Greg Lappin and Joe Au designed that course and put that idea into reality and actually implemented some of the things we were talking about, one of the biggest key elements that we wanted to bring to people's lives was, hey, this is a 3-day course where you're going to be introduced to Jiu-Jitsu, and you're going to be introduced to the fundamentals of combat pistol shooting. But we were being very honest, and you heard us say it in the in-brief, is that nobody got good at shooting or fighting in 3 days. This is more of a opportunity to maybe identify some shortcomings or find a new passion or see what the power of Jiu-Jitsu, be exposed to it. And then after you leave the course, you've had 3 full days of really getting a good foundational understanding of what Jiu-Jitsu is. We're hoping that people go home and then continue on that path. And that's why it comes with a gi. We want you to walk out of our course with all the tools that you need to walk into a gym and start training.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just laying block out in Louisiana. That's what we were doing. We were building a foundation, and you were 100% upfront and honest. That's what that is. You're not going to come back and you can't come back and be like, hey, I'm a Jiu-Jitsu guy now. No, you're not. I mean,
I mean, you're starting to be a Jiu-Jitsu guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a long, arduous path.
Yeah. And one of the things, you said something that made me commit to Guns and Gis, and it's it's an interesting story how I actually ended up there, because I'd love to hear it, because I don't think I know all the details yet. I don't think I've ever told you, and then I'm going to tell you part of this that I've only told Joe Al. So I've not even told my wife this part of it. So my first meeting of Greg Anderson was somebody text me your video that I used to work with, like in the police world. Mm-hmm. And I just looked at it and I replied back. I'm like, oh, he's fucked, and I kind of forgot about it a little bit. And then later, and then I think I heard you on Andy Stumpf. And I think it was like maybe around November of the fall before we did Guns and Gis. Well, I was in like some weird space at that time where I knew I needed to put some energy somewhere, but where am I going to put it? And Jiu-Jitsu was one of the outlets I was kind of considering, but just the start of it can be a little, what academy do I go to? Like, is who's going to be there? Like, is this going to be a bunch of dudes training for the UFC, or is it going to be like this like club that, they don't really want new members? Like what's it going to be like?
Yeah, it definitely can be intimidating.
Yeah. And you said something during, I believe it was during that podcast, but could be wrong. Might've been during one of yours I listened to later, but you said, hey, come to Guns and Gis, and at the very least, you'll learn what jujitsu looks like, and you'll learn what a proper training, academy should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll have a blueprint. And I was like, okay, that resonated with me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go try this out. And that turned out to be like one of the most prophetic things like you ever said. And for me, that really resonated. And it was 100% true. I come out there for that 3 days. I saw what a jiu-jitsu gym looked like. I saw what good training should look like. And, like I said, we laid block that weekend, and it started to build a foundation for me.
Dude, that makes me happy to hear, because one thing that me, Greg, and Joao are constantly trying to do, and we talked about it a little bit last night, it's like, yes, we're teaching jiu-jitsu at our academies, and that is obviously what people are coming to obtain, but that's just part of what they're coming to obtain. The other side of it is I want to create a place where people can come and de-stress. People can make new friendships. People can put all of the stuff of their daily grind, or maybe relationship problems at home, or they're having disagreements with their boss at work. Like, our lives have become stress at every single different little aspect. And when people come to the gym, I want everybody to just be able to put all that shit on the back burner. And for the next 90 minutes, we focus on ourselves and each other as a team. And that is, I've been part of academies like that. I mean, I got my black belt from Joao, so I felt like I got a very good blueprint of when one day I'm a black belt building my own academy. What do I want it to look like? And, me and Lappin became friends only a few years ago, but we ran with the same circles, and we knew a lot of the same people. So how when you make a friend in that manner, they're kind of already vetted, right? It's
like Mike Novak.
There you go. And so, when we connected on Instagram, and then we ended up linking up, and I went down there, and sure as shit, Vita's the exact same vibe that me and Joao are trying to push at our academies. And now you've got a taste of all three, right?
I've not been.
You haven't been to Electric yet?
No, it's on my list. I'll get there.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
But you feel that energy when you walk in. So when I went down to Louisiana for the first time and trained with Greg and those guys, I was like, this is more of my kind of people. This is what we're trying to do with jiu-jitsu. And then it started, he's come up, he's trained with us before. He actually flies in tonight. He's going to train with us tomorrow. But what we've found is we're connecting with like-minded people on the same journey of jiu-jitsu. And that's when we're like, man, we need to all put our heads together and really start to create something that has the potential to change people's lives. And the reason that I'm excited to have you on the show is because we saw you in class 1, then you bought in on jiu-jitsu. You started your jiu-jitsu journey. And then when you came back for class 2, it was like, who the fuck's this guy?
Yeah.
Dude. And Joao was like so stoked.
Dude, he
because as you know, like our Guns and Gis program, Lappin runs the firearms range. Joao runs the mat room. But we all are proficient in both back and forth. But those two are the absolute masters of their craft. So for Joao to watch you buy in to jiu-jitsu the way that you did, and then come back a literal new human being, it was like, fuck yes. That is what we're trying to do with this program, is have people buy off on jiu-jitsu and then watch it enrich their lives.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, like, it felt really good to come back in May. I didn't feel like I brought a good product out there in March. And Joao and I stay in contact. We've actually been like trying to set up. He's going to come do a little visit in Florida, and I've only told him this story, but so when I first went to sign up for Guns and Gis, it was full, class 1. I'm like, fuck, missed it, damn. So then I started scrambling. I sent you like a message on Instagram, and I tried to like, hey man, I'm a retired police officer. Like, is there a list or something? And I think you said like, email Casey.
Yep.
I didn't know who Casey was, but it's like, Casey. Okay. So I emailed Casey, and she's like, hey, I'll put you on a list. I'm like, all right. So I didn't hear any more. And then fast forward, like it's January, and my wife and I we're down Cancun on like doing like an all-inclusive thing, you know? And I got like my Apple Watch on, and I'm just like kicking back on the beach, and get this email from Casey Lappin, said, hey, there's a spot available, but you got to act like ASAP. I told my wife, I was like, hey, hold on. I'm like, got up, ran back to the room, grabbed my laptop out, and, you know, hey, here's a credit card, and just take my money, you know, like whatever. And I said, I'm in, you know, and it was literally like, that's how it happened. And so then kind of like a strange thing kind of happened, because so then I get back and, you know, get the packing list and everything. So, you know, and let's face it, then we were still like balls deep in the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm getting ammo together, and I'm trying to get gear together, and everything's like, you know, it was hard to get things together like quick. And so
ammo was almost impossible for a while.
I don't even want to tell you what I paid to have like this ammo shipped in.
Yeah.
But so I'm doing all that. Well, then, you know, I'm really excited about going. Well, then as the date starts coming, like a weird thing happened. I started to realize like, hey, I'd kind of let some things go like the last 4 years or so. And now I got to face that. You know, I was used to being, you know, when I worked for the police department, I was like one of the physical fitness instructors. You know, I was like, you know, always in shape, and, you know, my uniform always looked good, and, you know, I shot good, and I did everything good. And then when I left, to be honest with you, I kind of let most of it go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an uncomfortable feeling, because, you know, I'm looking at you guys, and I'm like, oh, you know, this at one time would have been a peer group for me, you know, in many ways. You know, you were, you know, I mean, you and I could have worked together at one point.
Yeah.
And now it's a little different situation. And like I said, I've only told Joelle this. The morning of almost didn't come.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Like I got up in the morning, and like I had kind of about 3/4 put my gear together, and I got up and I, you know, I knew I was going to have to go out there and basically kind of be embarrassed of what I'd kind of let go a little bit. And, you know, I'm throwing shit in a bag and everything. And my wife even said to me, she's like, you know, you're leaving for 4 days, and you're like being a dick to me, you know, like, and you're getting ready to go on this trip, and you know, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing, you know, it's nothing to do with you. Just, and I didn't even tell her. I'm like, you know, and I threw shit, and like literally I was almost looking for an excuse. Like if I couldn't have found like one thing, or if one, I'd be like, oh fuck, I can't go, you know?
Yeah.
You know, hell of this, you know? So I packed up and threw my shit in there, and I started driving. You know, it's like 8-hour drive from Florida. So I started driving, and I didn't even call her till like I was out of the state. And like you know, 3 hours later, I pulled over for gas, and I called her up, and I said, hey, I just want you to know, like, it's nothing to do with you, but I'm getting ready to like start on this journey, and this is like about me, and it's going to be, you know, it's going to be difficult for a minute. Nothing to do with you. I'm sorry for being a dick, and I'm going to see you when I get back, but I got to go do this. And I just got in the mindset like, all right, you know, I'm going to go do it. And I got out there, and I was surprised. I shot like shit. Didn't look real good, you know. I mean, I'd let myself get more out of shape than I ever had in my whole life. But like you said, I bought in, and I was like, I'm never going to feel like this again. I'm never going to be embarrassed to come with what, like I said, could have been a peer group at one time. And that's just never happening again. And it won't, and it hasn't, you know. So when I come back in May, I walked in, and, you know, like to see you guys greet me. You guys are like, oh, Ron, you know, you look great, you know. And then, you know, that class 1, we did that, you know, we do the little shooting competition.
Yeah.
Dude, I went out the second round. I come back in class 2, it comes down to like me and you, and, you know, I was in the final 4, and
with Megan.
Megan kicked my ass. I got second place, but, you know, so that was, I was like, yeah. So, you know,
it's validating, like putting in the work.
Yeah.
Look how much better you performed.
Right.
You know, but the other thing, the thing that me and Lappin and Joao talked about is like, when you walked in, it wasn't just, oh, hey, you're in better shape, or, oh, hey, you shot better this time. Dude, it was your vibe. It was the energy. The look in your eyes was like, had more positivity in it. You had more life in you.
Absolutely.
And it was like, I mean, we got kind of emotional talking about it, because it's like, dude, that right there is what we hope everybody can fucking gain from attending Guns and Gis. It's not just your jiu-jitsu or your shooting. You saw some it shined a spotlight on some shortcomings, made you feel a little uncomfortable, and then it motivated you to attack those. and you came back, whatever, was it 3 months later or whatever?
Yeah.
And just fucking whole new human being, man.
Right.
In each class, we've had a handful of people that it's like, we get positive feedback from all the students. Most people that attend that course are very happy that they did when it's done. But each class has a couple people that have allowed it to really have a big impact on their life. Like Wes. I don't know. Have you met Wes?
Oh, dude, Wes and I are in contact like almost every week.
Okay. So Wes was a very similar story. Like, wasn't happy with where he was at. Some different aspects of his life weren't, he wasn't attacking his life in the way that he knew he should be. And he used that weekend to kind of light the fire again. And now he's killing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Funny story. So Wes was in class 2. And, you know, and I told him I wanted to show him like how much progress I'd made from class 1 to class 2. And, you know, I'd take like body pictures. And, well, I accidentally sent him like an unedited one, dude.
Lucky you, Wes. Please don't accidentally send me one.
So, you know, and I told him exactly. I was like, hey, dude, this was me in March. And, you know, this is me in May.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can do it, man. It's just nothing but mindset. You know, the one thing that was really rare, I've been in, you know, a ton of classes over my career from local, federal, state, you know, and I've never saw anything like, you guys pour your heart and soul in that. When you look at somebody, you know, it doesn't feel like a class. It doesn't feel like something a service I paid for.
Yeah.
You know, like you guys, you know, kind of looked into my soul, and Joel, I could tell, like, I don't know, there's a more beautiful human anywhere than Joel. You know,
he's fucking awesome.
And I could tell he like connected, like he knew like I was kind of floating out there and I needed this. And, you know, like I said, we stayed in contact from class 1. You know, he offered to help me find an academy, and, you know, he'd stay in touch and, you know, and how you doing, bro? You know, you good? You know, how you training? You know, and then, and you know, it doesn't happen often, but there's been an occasional time where I've had to ask one of you guys about something mostly jujitsu related. And, you know, you guys have always, there's no snake oil at Guns and Gis. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing for sale other than this lifestyle really and self-improvement.
Well, and that was a big part of when we came up with the idea. I mean, everybody that attends military or police training, they have in the mind that it's going to be like, all right, everybody get on the line right here. Hurry up. Like that weird drill sergeant mentality. And if you watch online training, you still see, and I mean, and I'm not even saying this pejoratively, each company can offer whatever training method they think makes sense for the product that they're selling. But we didn't want to feel like we're cadre up here telling you guys what to do. We felt like we want to make everybody feel like we're equals here. And what we're doing is we're showing you a path that worked for us. It's not me like trying to walk around like I'm some hot shot. It's like, hey, these are things that we've done in our lives, and it has greatly improved our overall quality of life. And we're here to show you guys this. Now, obviously, I mean, you can't do this if you don't have absolute experts like Greg Lappin and Joel to be able to look. You can see, they can show you what they did, but the proof is in the pudding too, because they've taken it to the absolute highest levels, and there's not people out there better than them. And so when you have someone at that level of their craft, simultaneously trying to bring in the right culture, the right vibe, and the right energy, I feel like it's very different than most other things that are available on the market. And that's why we wanted to do like dinners together, sit around a fire and just get to know each other as human beings. Because one of the biggest keys for your jiu-jitsu to ever help you grow into that person that you're looking to be is you have to let down that barrier. You have to break that wall down, and then you have to get to know your team and be open with them and be vulnerable. And I actually like that you talked about that, is like you having some hesitancy in attending. That's completely normal because you know you're going to be vulnerable. And most men we just have this inherent, whatever it is inside of us, like we move away from ever showing our vulnerabilities, because I think our whole life, especially the American culture, we have felt like that's almost a sign of weakness. But what it is, it's the opposite. And it takes us into our fucking, 30s, 40s, and 50s before we realize, like, oh no, showing your vulnerabilities and opening up, that's where the growth is at,
Absolutely. I've adopted this little saying, and, life can either be a tragedy or an academy. You can either take something bad that's happened to you and just kind of hang on that and say, and I could have done that. I could have said, hey, I'm medically retired from the police department. I've got some physical issues that gave me every excuse to just sit on my ass in Florida, collect my pension check, and be like, hey, that's it. I'll just set my clock and I'll probably live to be 84.3 years old and die in Florida. And,
yeah. Or
I could say, you know what, I'm going to shift gears here and I'm going to find something that works for me. And I'm going to go live a second part of my life. I'm going to go do something else. I felt like I had this whole part of me. And I'm like, I think I got a couple wins left, like I'm not done.
Yeah.
And that was being real with myself. I could have let my ego, I could have come out there and been like, hey, I've been to the range hundreds of times. I've done this, but I didn't, and part of that was because I wanted it for myself, but there's just no hiding the passion and the teaching from all three of you. I just can't stress enough even if you've been to courses, even if you've had instruction. I went to another one just to kind of brush up. Totally different culture. Like it was really like, hey, you paid your check. This is what we do. Thanks. See you at the door. But you guys look into everybody, and you guys all make an effort to kind of figure out somebody's situation, what they need. I've never met a guy like Lappin. Let's face it, firearms instruction is freaking difficult. Everybody thinks they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks their way is better. I'm shooting better now than I ever have in my life. And that was because Greg Lappin changed my entire grip that I'd used for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He changed the way I pulled a trigger, and he told me why and made it make sense, and it freaking works.
Yeah, and I can say the exact same thing. I'm shooting the best I've ever shot in my life from a couple weekends with him, aside from Guns and Gis, where he was literally working with me. And that's when I bought off on it. And I tell people regularly, I'm like, dude, I used to live with the SEAL Team 6 guys, the Delta guys, the Force Recon, especially because of those dudes are awesome with pistol. And I'm not even saying anything negatively. I've learned a lot of good things from high-level pistol shooters. I've never met someone who is as good as Lappin is while simultaneously being able to convey it as well as he does. There's a difference between being a shooter and being an instructor. And some guys are very good at one or the other, but to find someone that is absolutely at the pinnacle of both, I was like, that's my guy.
Absolutely. And it's in his voice. He loves it. It's in his body language,
And he demos every drill.
Yeah.
So you can see exactly what it's going to look like. Because a lot of firearms instructors, and it's the same with Jujitsu. And that's why I love Guns and Gis, because there's so many parallels to draw between tactical training and Jiu-Jitsu training. But a lot of firearms instructors just hide behind that red shirt. And, hey, I'm in charge. I'm on the range. You're going to do what I say. But how many times are people showing the vulnerabilities as instructors of, hey, guys, okay, circle up. This is what the drill is going to look like when you hear the buzzer go off, and he'll talk you through it. Then he'll show it to you. Any questions? And if anybody wants to see it again, or it's like, Lappin's out there. This is my skill set that I bring to the table. This is how good I am. And I'm showing you guys. And I'm not trying to boast or pretend or any of that. Like, this is where I'm at. And I think he gets that from Jiu-Jitsu, because in Jiu-Jitsu, there is no hiding.
No.
Sometimes you have those black belts that will always sit out and watch, right?
Right.
And they're never in the mix with the team. And what that does is it doesn't allow your team to really know who you are and know your vulnerabilities and know where you're strong and know where you're weak. And just because I'm the black belt at my academy, all my guys know my strengths and my weaknesses because I'm in the mix with them. And once you're comfortable being in the mix with the guys, now we don't have anything to hide from each other.
No.
you know? And so it's very similar to how Lappin has nothing to hide. This is how good I am. Take it or leave it, you know?
Well, last night, you definitely. How many black belts you think want to go do a round with Mike Novak like you did last night?
Yeah, exactly.
In front of their whole academy. Dude, there were people that stopped rolling last night.
To watch
that. Because that's what everybody wonders. It was almost like UFC 1 when everybody wanted to see what was going to happen. Everyone has the question last night, what if you get some just physical freak like Mike Novak?
On top of you. Yeah.
275 pounds of just man mountain.
Yeah.
Dude, I rolled with him last night. I'm a pretty strong guy. I don't get shoved around too much. He grabbed the front of my lapels and almost put me in your CrossFit Academy.
Bro, I'm telling you, like, I've only rolled with him twice. And the last time was probably a year or two ago. And it was a very, very similar experience. As soon as he puts his hands on you, it's like, okay, this is one of the strongest human beings that I know.
Yeah.
And, but here's the thing, because everybody was like, because Novak doesn't train, but he has a lifetime of wrestling and he's 300-pound fucking power lifter. So
at 14% body fat right now.
Yeah. So you take a person of that physical stature with also a pretty extensive background in grappling. That's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And could yesterday have not went my way? Of course it could have. But what do I have to gain by showing my students that I'm not willing to put my jiu-jitsu on the line? Like people that, and that's why I try and be an open book at my academy. Like we got that new black belt, Scott. I don't know if you met him last night. The older gentleman. He was, I think he's in his early 50s. He's been in a gi since he was 4.
Wow.
And he's a black belt under Higan Machado, and he's a black belt in judo. And so when he signed up maybe 2 months ago, I knew, hey, there's a good chance that I'm no longer top dog,
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to embrace that because if this guy's been doing jiu-jitsu for longer than me, and he also has a black belt in judo, which means he has a whole other skill set that I'm not proficient in, man, let's embrace this. Let's welcome this guy. And if he has my number, fucking so be it. If I end up having his number, so be it. And that's what makes it powerful. I think I've talked about it with someone last night. It might have been you when we were talking about the pecking order. And I think one reason why jiu-jitsu academies, if they're run the correct way, you just feel the right energy from people is because no one's hiding from anyone. It's like, you typically know who's going to beat who. You know who your stronger athletes are. You know who your weaker athletes are. You know who's going to give you those hard back and forth rounds. And then oh, well, that guy, I can smash that guy. But the thing is, I'm not saying that like, oh, that guy sucks or this guy's awesome. It's we all have an understanding of where we're at while simultaneously we're all trying to grow together. Yeah. So like if there's a guy there that can smash me and then there's another guy that I can smash, at the end of the day, we all understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we're trying to get better as a team. And I think because you, like Rogan says, you can't be full of shit on the mats. You can act like a badass and you can say, oh, I've done this and I won this tournament. But when you slap and bump, what does it feel like when we put our hands on each other? We are all going to know who is where. And also, like I always say, it lets you know where you're at, but more importantly, it lets you know where you are not at.
Absolutely.
Right. And so once you have a room of, we had 35 people or something last night. It's pretty packed class. Once everybody has that pecking order established, I think we're more at ease with each other and we're comfortable because I don't have to posture against you. I don't have to puff my chest or pretend that like I'm an alpha male or any of that weird stuff. Because dude, we all know each other and we all know where each other's at. And now we can be comfortable with that.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. The gym I go to, the guy that owns it, he's a Dutch Muay Thai, fought in Strike Force, just, was top of the food chain. And he says all the time, the mats don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
We can all sit off to the side and talk shit. We can all look at this guy and say, I could smash him. I could do this. But guess what? You're on the mats and it's going to be what it's going to be. And last night was like, I called my wife on the way over here this morning and we were talking a little bit. And I said, man, I mean, I can't even put into words how much fun I had last night. What is more fun than getting together with your buddies and grinding it out on the mats, and what's more healthy than that?
Yeah.
We got out. I challenge anybody to tell me what's more healthy to do with your friends. Hey, if you go hang out on a bar stool with your friends and drink draft beer all night, that's great. I'd challenge you to tell me anything really healthy about that if you do it regularly. But hey, do you? I would challenge somebody to tell me what's healthier than what we did last night. We worked out physically, we worked out mentally, we had fun with our friends.
Yeah, bonded.
We had like our little core group last night, and then I met new dudes, man. I like instantly hit it off with Tyler.
Yeah,
like
Tyler's rad.
Dude, when I left, he's like, "Hey, bro, you got another friend in Washington," and he was an interesting role. I first rolled with Craig, which that's
yeah, but you shot in and got a single, dude. I was like, whoa, dude, because Craig's a good wrestler. He's a very good wrestler.
In all fairness, I surprised him.
Good, dude, bro. Surprise people. That's part of the game.
That's jujitsu too.
Yeah,
but I paid for it dearly for about the next 4.5 minutes. After that was, my one moment of glory. And I'll probably talk a little shit to him for the next 5 years. And it'll probably never happen again.
Yeah.
But that was jujitsu. But I told my wife, I said, one thing that, one thing I like about jujitsu, you make this like diverse friend group, and you really got friends everywhere. You can go in gyms. But last night it was weird for me because everybody other than Tyler that was 50 pounds, 60 pounds heavier than me. So I got to test my jujitsu last night because that's what we're doing. I was trying to explain to my wife. I said, the theory of jujitsu is supposed to be, we train in this that way. If you come up against a bigger, heavier, stronger, even more athletic opponent, you can level the playing field. Not only can you level it, you can put it back on your side of things,
Yeah.
So that was just great last night that I found out really where my jiu-jitsu was at in a lot of things, like, hey, I ain't gonna lie, I felt good to single leg Craig.
Yeah.
And then, I end up with I got a picture of one of the other guys I rolled with. He's like probably 6 inches taller than me, 60 pounds heavier than me. And, we end up on the ground. I get an arm bar because, and a year ago, it wouldn't have happened. But last night, and it's funny, I thought I can still remember you and Lappin teaching me how to do an arm bar.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I'm like 10 months into this now. I got a little bit of, I don't want to say skill, but I got a little bit of things
it's coming together for you. Yeah.
So when jiu-jitsu is coming together, this is what it feels like. So, last night we're grappling back and forth, nobody can take anybody down. The guy kind of pulls me in, I end up like in knee on belly. Then I end up in side control. Now before, I probably would have spazzed and like jumped to something stupid because this guy's bigger and stronger and probably more athletic than me. I mean, you've told me he's like a professional athlete essentially.
Yeah.
And I probably would have made a dumb mistake. Well, last night, slow down, side control, slow down, cooked it.
Yeah.
Now I know how to set it up to go to mount. So, now before I'd just try to jump the mount and got bucked off and that'd have been the end of the story.
Yeah.
So now I know how to grab a collar. Now I know how to fake something, set it up. Boom, I'm in mount. Again, I just sat there, put my weight on, cook. Another thing, did feel pretty good to hit an arm bar in the Arm Bar Kings gym. That was kind of on my list of shit I wanted to do. I'm like, since you taught me the arm bar, and I remember you're like, hey man, bro, this is like my go-to. I'm the arm bar dude.
Yeah, that's a one-trick pony, but I'm good at my trick.
I got the arm and I just held it for a minute. I waited till everything lined up, transition, boom, perfect arm bar, and I'm like, fuck yeah, this is coming together. Like,
how good does that feel?
It was incredible because, you're on this journey and sometimes it feels like you're so far away,
For sure.
It's just like, shit, man, this is hard. And you can watch shit on YouTube and this and that. It's totally different when another human doesn't want to participate.
Bro, that's what I always say is like, the reason, and I mean, my gym is CrossFit and Jiu-Jitsu, so I'm not saying anything negative about CrossFit, but in CrossFit, it's you versus you, because you're going to decide how fast you go. You're going to decide when the weight's too heavy and you can't get another rep in or whatever it is, right? You are in battle with yourself. And I think that's a good thing to do. I do that often. But in Jiu-Jitsu, somebody else has an active vote in how every single last aspect of the next 7 minutes of your life is going to play out. And so that's why you find, okay, I'm going to slap and bump, and then I'm going to shoot in on a single, I'm going to dump, I'm going to move to side control. If you think that you're going to be able to have any type of play-by-play, Throw that away right now, because what's going to happen is you're going to have to read your opponent's movement. You're going to have to feel their base. You're going to have to see what physical attributes they bring to the table. And then you're going to have to strategize in real time to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. And dude, Mike Novak was a perfect example of that last night. I butterfly sweep everybody. Yeah. That's my go-to. If I get a butterfly hook, 99% of humans on planet Earth are going to be on their back. I got my butterfly hook. Felt like a stump with roots into the ground. Zero movement. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to try my scissor now. Try my scissor. Those are my two go-tos. And I couldn't even budge his base. So then I was like, all right, I have to adapt on a fly. When he pulls his posture up high and strong, I'm going to switch to a hip bump, because that's going to be the one sweep that attacks his posture in the correct direction. And then it worked.
Yeah.
And that's jujitsu. That's what's so fucking powerful about it.
Yeah.
You know, is you get to feel in real time. And so with you rolling with some of the guys up there, I don't want to say it's competition level, because there's a better vibe. Like, competing can be exhausting, because it's like people are going to they have in their mindset that we're fighting to the death. And that's okay. That's good, right? But it's somewhere between competition and then rolling with your homies, because you don't know what these people know and they don't know what you know.
Yeah.
So it's like first date.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And so for you to have success against some big, strong athletes that you didn't know and you've never rolled with before, that's fucking rad, dude.
And I just thought last night, I was like, and this is kind of, I tell this story a lot. So class one, you know how we do like the Thursday night kind of introduction thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if you remember or not, but Craig and Mike were late getting there.
I'll never let them live that down.
Right. And you should not. So when they came in, I kind of thought at first maybe this was like a joke. I was waiting for like the Road Warriors music to key up or something, because so in full disclosure, when I walk in, the first freaking person I see is Rob Larson, and I'm like, holy shit, what am I in for this weekend? You know?
Yeah, what kind of fucking animals are showing up?
Well, for those that don't know him, his nickname's Manimal.
Yeah.
And the last time I saw him was on Fight to Win, and no disrespect to his opponent, but I don't know if you watched him.
I didn't watch the match, but he told me about how it played out.
Bro, I mean, he did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, and that other dude just was along for the ride.
Well, bro, I'll tell you a little story about Rob. He came up and he's trained at my academy a handful of times, right? And we had a role that was like, I went pretty hard, and I was able to have a lot of success. And I was like, okay, I mean, Rob's big and strong and he has good jiu-jitsu, but I felt like I kind of figured him out, had his number a little bit. Come to find out, he was just being respectful because he was at my academy. Because when I went down and rolled with him at his academy, holy fuck, dude, different human being. So I was like, fuck, dude, you were just being nice to me.
Yeah.
Now next time we roll, I have a lot to fucking process mentally, because it's like, which version of Rob am I about to put my hands on? But now that I know how good he is, I know exactly what version I'm going to get.
Yeah.
But it's funny how like that's how jiu-jitsu plays out, is like there's always a balance of how hard do I go? What's the right etiquette? You know, and he is visiting my academy and I'm the professor and the black belt. So he didn't turn it up to level 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But his level 10, I've now felt it. It is in there.
The most exciting part about his match was Ivan screaming at him the whole time. You know, like that was the only excitement of it, because he just, I mean, physically, that guy is a problem for anyone. I don't care who you are, you know, any sort of black belt. I mean, he's just such a physical freak. And it played out on that Fight to Win, like, whew, you know. So that was the first guy I met when I walked in Guns and Gis. And then Novak and Craig come in. I'm like, holy shit, man, this might be like a really long weekend. You know, like, because I didn't know the structure of it. Are you guys just going to line us up and be like, hey, man, have at it, Fight Club, you know? Or, you know, you don't know.
And so that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think rolling is one of the most important aspects of jiu-jitsu. And once you start training, live rolling is really where you start to put together your skill set. Because we can drill all day and you can understand the position and the angles, But now you have to learn how to do it again, like we were just saying, against someone that's trying to stop you from doing it. So now it starts to come into timing and angles and all the little nuances to make it work. But at Guns and Gis, for that very reason, we're like, we don't want to make live rolling a part of like the mandatory curriculum. And we do have our mandatory curriculum. And if to graduate successfully, you have to attend this many hours. But what we didn't want to do is have live rolls be part of the mandatory curriculum, because when you're brand new and you're still just trying to figure it out, maybe you're not quite ready for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or maybe live rolls is actually going to push you over the edge, because they're long, hard days, right?
Oh, it is.
And I mean, Bob attended at 67 years old. I can't expect him to put in 6 hours of work on the range and on the mats and then do live rolls with some 25-year-old. It's not reasonable, right?
Yeah.
So what we do at Guns and Gis is we have our curriculum on the range, we have our curriculum on the mats, and then we'll do an open mat for an hour at the end of the day for people that do want to try live rolls. And so some people are all about it. Some people like to watch, because dude, if you've never been in a live roll and it's like, all right, find a partner, slap and bump, that in itself can be fucking intimidating as shit to some people. And we want to bring people in a manner that's as comfortable as you can be. Jiu-jitsu is inherently uncomfortable. So don't think I'm saying that it's going to be a comfortable experience, but I want people to be able to see what it's about, feel the vibe, and then hop in when they're ready. And I feel like it's been working very well.
Yeah, I liked, that option, because let's face it, we all get together, and there are some guys that, and now, I mean, I've made all these legit friends, and when that's what you want to do when you see your buddies. Now I know guys. So the second time I came to Lappin's gym, I felt like I was home.
Yeah,
it felt really good, man. I felt like, oh yeah, this is good, man. These mats feel good. I love it. I mean, if you've never been to Greg Lappin's gym, it's probably the nicest jiu-jitsu gym you've ever saw. I mean, it is
second nicest. No, I can say with honesty, Vita is as nice as they get.
Yeah. I mean, it's top of the line. So, I come back here the second time, like, oh, no, it felt totally different than the first time. So, second time I kind of made an effort to make some of the new guys feel comfortable and talk to everybody, because I'd been there once and I know what it feels like. And, so it was really good to come back and feel that change. And the one thing in jiu-jitsu, if you stick with it, and you've another thing you said was, and I tell everybody this, give it 90 days.
Yeah.
Don't go to class twice in a week or, and say, oh man, it just didn't work. If you commit to it for 90 days.
Yep.
I've yet to see anybody that stuck with it. And listen, the turnover at jiu-jitsu gyms it's ridiculous,
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
I think
that's why I don't do contracts, and I'm very upfront about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people there if you feel in your heart it's not for you.
Yeah, and you just be a credit bureau, chasing people and shit, like Anytime Fitness or something.
Yeah.
But if you give it 90 days and you get through that and you start seeing some benefits and you start, a year ago when I saw Craig and Mike Novak come in a gym, did I ever think that in 10 months I'd single leg Craig? No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even have any idea what to do with that guy other than transition to my pistol, I mean, but it will come along. There's nobody that does this, that doesn't get better, that doesn't see the benefits. And then when those benefits start transitioning over into your regular life, that's another form of the magic.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely when the magic starts to happen.
Yeah.
Man, that's so awesome. I love that you said, one thing that you said to me yesterday, and it might have been one of the biggest compliments I've ever got at my gym, is you said, everybody up here is super kind and respectful, and every person came up and introduced themselves.
Bro, it was ridiculous. It was like going to a family reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Where, hey, here's Ron, I haven't seen in 20 years, but it's the first time I met these people. Like, everybody literally made an effort to come up and say, hey man, I'm Chris, I'm Dave, nice to meet you. A couple guys are like, oh, aren't you Ron from Guns and Gis? They like maybe heard something here or there, or some talk or something, or shit on Facebook or whatever. And then, like I said, I was looking forward to meeting Tyler, and I got to roll with him again. I rolled with him after the roll with Craig, and I was I was not myself. And
yeah.
And
Tyler makes most people feel like they're not themselves too.
Dude, he was overly cool to me, and he could have. But I will say one thing: I got pretty good grips. I'm pretty strong. I've never had a man grab my hands and do with my hands what he did last night. Like,
bro, it's because he swings a forging hammer all day. Like I tell people all the time. I mean, Tyler's not a big man. I think he's 180 or something. Like, not a small man, but not a big man.
Of iron.
But of a dude that swings a fucking forging hammer all day. It's you can't get that kind of strength at the CrossFit gym. You can't get it at the weight room because it's literal hours that turn into days, months, years of your connective tissue and your tendons and your ligaments just tougher than shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a different thing, dude.
Dude, I grabbed his lapels, like, I had him in a guard, and I grabbed his lapels, and that's usually like one of my go-tos. If I can suck somebody in, I can kind of move them a little bit. He grabbed my hands and pitched them like he was throwing a McDonald's cup out the window. It was humbling, man. Yeah. Like shit, I went from Craig to him. I'm like, damn,
Yeah, and then to Sean, like just a bunch of beast after beast after beast, huh?
Dude, strong, bro.
Yeah, dude,
strong.
No, but to touch on the 90 days thing again, there's one point I wanted to make on that. Is that the reason that I push that so much is because I understand the first 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks can be like, what am I doing? You're not gonna enjoy it necessarily right out of the gates. You might enjoy the vibes and meeting the people and some things like that. But as far as how you physically feel during rolling, where a person is stronger than you, they understand jujitsu better than you, and they can just cross face you and put a bunch of pressure. Now you can't breathe. Now you have those fight or flight hormones kicking in, and you're like, fuck, I can't get away from this guy. And I can't fight him because he's beating me right now. Yeah. So you have no fight or flight option available. And that's when like the anxiety starts kicking in. You start feeling like very uncomfortable. And that is where I feel like the growth starts to happen, because you can either run from those feelings or you can say, okay, I got to face them.
Yeah.
And everybody feels those, you know?
My mind had to have like a serious conversation with my body the first few weeks of jiu-jitsu. So if you think you're in shape, maybe you swim, maybe you run, maybe you lift weights, you don't do jiu-jitsu. Literally the first couple times I did jiu-jitsu, I went and got in my truck to drive home, and I was like, holy shit, I got to sit here a minute and collect myself, I felt beat up, because I had that neck fusion surgery, like I can flare my nerves up and it gets really freaking painful. Like my arms go numb. It's nerve pain sucks. Anybody's had nerve pain. It's just it's the worst kind of fucking pain. But I just literally was driving home one day and my mind told my body, we're fucking doing this. That is just the way it is. So you're going to have to adapt, because
figure out. Yeah.
I'm coming back tomorrow, and then I'm coming back the next day, and then I'm coming back the next day. So I'm just telling everybody, it's going to be rough at first. You're going to feel the same way. You're going to, my wife said to me the one day, and my wife's been super supportive of this. She only has one issue with jiu-jitsu.
Is that you're there all the time?
Ears.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
She doesn't want your ears to get all mangled, huh?
Yeah, they're already starting to like thicken, and she monitors it pretty closely, and she's not going to be happy when I get back home tomorrow, because one of them's even thicker after this trip. But that's her only issue with jiu-jitsu. But I remember early on, she was like, super supportive. I got a great wife and everything. And my wife, she's a physical beast. She works out and, very disciplined. So she gets that whole part of it. So, I'm lucky there. But she said to me the one day, she's like, hey, this new thing you're doing, I know you're like into it and everything. She said, but when you get up in the morning, I'm just not sure it's a good thing. Like you hobble to the coffee pot and, and it's gotten, I said, hey, I'm just in a transition phase. Like my body's got to adapt and learn to this. I haven't been folded up as a grown man and pitched to the ground. And, and it did. And it does get better. Just get through it. If you're not willing to commit to 90 days, then maybe it's just,
not for you.
Don't do it, because you'll just quit after 3 or 4 sessions like most people do. And when Lappin did that, the fundraiser with Mitch, so I was trying to think of something to donate, And first I was going to donate something, like, I don't know, like a scope or something like that. And then I was like, no, So I emailed Casey and I said, hey, run this by Greg. What if I donate a 3-month membership for somebody 90 days?
Yeah.
And that's what, and she messaged me back. She's like, Greg loves that. And I said, okay, that's what I'm going to donate. Because I hope somebody got it. And I hope they did, you know. I've always thought like different ways, like how could I ever repay you guys? I know what you guys would say.
Yeah, you're already doing it by living the lifestyle and passing the lifestyle to more people.
Pay it forward.
Yeah.
You know? So I know you guys don't want anything, you know, pay it forward. So that I'm like, man, I hope so. I just would love for someone to do what I did and to see all the benefits in different parts of your life that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Hickson talks about invisible jiu-jitsu. I know he's not talking about, you know, the life part of it. He's talking about other things, but there's a whole lot of invisible jiu-jitsu that it takes place in your life.
Bro, I talk about invisible jiu-jitsu a lot too, because one thing that you will, and you're already feeling it, but anybody that hits that 90-day mark, you're going to start feeling all of these different aspects of your life improving, right? Both on the mat and off the mat. And it's almost, I mean, when people talk about jiu-jitsu, it's almost like it's its own entity.
Yeah.
You know, like it's its own, it's a deity or something, because it's, once you commit to it and you give it you give that commitment to something, man, it starts feeding you and it starts giving back to you. And it's literally like you're in a relationship with jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And I've talked about it before. Like me and jiu-jitsu have been in fights before.
Yeah.
Me and jiu-jitsu have been on the outs. Like I've contemplated divorce with jiu-jitsu before, because it's like, hey, motherfucker, like I'm doing all of this, but you keep hurting me and I keep getting injured, or I keep losing tournaments, and it's like, fuck you. Yeah. Or like as a business owner, like I'm going into debt. Like I'm pouring my heart and soul into jiu-jitsu, but nobody else is buying off on it. And I only have 15 members. And it's like, there's aspects of it that can become frustrating at times. But what I've realized is success is not linear. You know, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And when I look back on my journey, both as an athlete and as a coach and a business owner, we're doing as well as we've ever done before. So the 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing, it's part of jiu-jitsu, giving you a realistic approach to success. What can you start? What business can you start, or what endeavor can you start to that first initial step, and then it's just uphill trajectory from there on out, and everything's good to go. It doesn't work like that. The universe doesn't work like that. And my buddy Charles always says, he's like, the universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you need.
Yeah.
And that's jiu-jitsu. It's going to be hard sometimes. You're going to have tons of failures. And like you said, like your body was hurting. And I'm very upfront about this with people. If you train, something is going to hurt. That's it. You're putting your body through a very rigorous activity. So don't think like you're going to get out fucking scotch free. Like that's not how it works. You're going to have to endure. And part of that is the bumps and the bruises, and sometimes worse. I've had plenty of ACL tears in my academy. But the thing that I always tell people, like I had, when I was in California, I was wrestling, and I think it was with Charles, my porn buddy. And I shot a double and my head hit the wall, and I got a stinger that went like down my neck and down my arm. And just like you said, nerve pain, right? And I bulged a disc very bad. And my neck was fucked up for a long time. I needed to go through a lot of decompression therapy and PT. And one thing that the doctor said to me that I'll never forget, he goes, the interesting thing about your injury that you caused, he goes, I see the same injury all the time in tech people that sit at a desk and hold their neck at an improper angle. He goes, it bulges the disc in the same place that your wrestling bulged yours at. And that kind of resonated with me, because it's like, see, I could have been staring at a fucking screen, or I could have been wrestling savages, and the end result is the same. And so you can try and hide from jiu-jitsu because it does have that potential to injure your body. And then you can injure it fucking sitting at your desk watching YouTube. So it's like, you just got to make the decision. What am I going to do with my life? And I've come to the terms. It's like, Because even my mom to this day, she's like, you're too hard on your body. You're going to ruin it. You're going to regret doing all this stuff when you're older. It's like, nope. When I fucking check out and I move on from this planet, I hope this thing is so broken down and dilapidated that I got every single last mile out of it. That's how we should fucking look at this journey, you know?
Bro, I feel the same way. I told somebody a couple weeks ago, I said, when I can't raise the shield, I'm ready to go out on it.
There you go.
If I can't do this, then hey, and whenever that time comes, I'm comfortable with it.
Me too, man. It's funny you said that. Me and Jenny were just talking last night. I don't even remember how that conversation came up, but it was talking about how, like, hey, when we get real old, our relationship's going to have to change a little bit because, dude, when you're old and sickly and you need your partner to help you put your underwear on or wipe your ass because your arms don't even work anymore, like all that shit that we're all going to face at some point if we make it long enough, right? But once I'm there, I think that's a clear indicator that it's time to move on.
Yeah.
You know, because the only animal in the world that wants to preserve life at any and all cost is the human being. Like every other animal in the fucking animal kingdom, dude, if your legs don't work anymore, okay, that's a wrap.
Yeah, you lay there until something bigger and stronger comes along and makes a decision for you.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have this free pass to just keep living your life when you don't work anymore. And so it's weird to me that, and one of my best friends, he just went through this with his dad, where it was ALS just slowly but surely took every single thing, every capability he had away from him, to the point where he was just sitting in a chair and the body didn't work at all. And this guy was like a healthy, very active, intelligent person, successful career. And now you're confined in this prison. And here's the scary thing about that is that the brain still functioned at 100%.
Yeah.
So you're now inside of a prison.
Yeah.
And so he decided to do like physician assisted suicide. And some people think that that's a strange place to arrive at. But I'm almost 100% sure that I would arrive at that same conclusion.
For sure.
Because if there's no hope, if you just know this is never going to get better, it's time to move on, man.
I agree. And I'll tell you, I had a crazy experience this last October. And so I ended up like totally blowing out a disc in my back, not doing jujitsu, doing leg presses.
Uh-huh.
So literally, we had a vacation coming up, and my wife looks forward to going to Jamaica every October, and I'm not going to cancel it. I can barely walk. I mean, literally, I was bedridden for almost 2 weeks. I mean, I had to really contemplate how bad I had to piss, and I'd try to like make it, okay, if I'm going to get up, I'm going to piss, get something to eat, get something, all in one motion, man, because that's how bad it was.
Yeah, consolidating.
Yeah. So, but I wasn't going to cancel this vacation, so we go down there. Long story short, she ends up pushing me in a wheelchair the last day to dinner because I just couldn't. And that was a scary thing. I'm like, fuck, I lost my mobility. Probably couldn't protect my wife right now if I had to and everything. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are saying to me like, oh, I bet jujitsu's done now. I'm like, fuck no. First week of December, I'm back on the freaking mats. I rehabbed it because I would rather be done altogether than not be able to live this life I want to do.
Yeah.
And I rehabbed it and I'm fine now. You saw me last night, like, you know. But it's just a mindset thing. But I was like, no, I'm not done. I never even thought about being done. Like, no, this is just a bump in the road. I'll get through it and I'll move on. And we did.
Nice,
you know?
Dude.
But yeah, I don't want that life, you know. And granted, we're wired different. My mom says the same thing to me. My mom's like, geez, you got a nice wife, you got a nice career, you made it through a police career and you didn't die or anything. Like, what are you doing? You know? And I'm like, hey.
but what they don't see is the other side of you where you were getting out of shape.
Yeah.
You were unhappy with yourself.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can be whatever shape you want if you're comfortable in your own skin and you're proud of who you are. And having a six pack might not be for everybody, but you need to be comfortable with who you are to be enjoying this journey of life. And if you're not, well, fuck, dude, that's where we got to have a conversation. One thing that you said, I mean, probably an hour ago, like right when we started, you said, I retired from the police department. I'm living in Florida and I let myself go. And I think the reason I'd like to unpack that more is because so many police officers that I know are chasing what? They're chasing retirement.
Yeah, the golden ticket. And I got it.
And it's like, dude, I'm going to retire. I'm going to move to Florida. And then life is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't really awesome for you because during that transition, for whatever reason, and maybe you can go into this, it started making you become a person that you weren't proud of.
Right.
So why are people so excited to chase this transition out of law enforcement when statistically most people die shortly thereafter? And is it because you lose your focus, you lose your mission, or how was that transition for you?
I feel like it's almost some weird caveman shit. You know, like, when you're in the police or military, you always got a PT test coming up, maybe a deployment, maybe something. Like I never failed any sort of, I got my physical fitness incentive every year. I was one of the certified instructors, I always had something like a reason. I lost my reason.
Okay.
So I moved down there and, hey, I got the golden ticket. I got to retire early. I still had a decent level of health. I on paper, I got everything people would say sets you up for this really good life.
How long were you in law enforcement?
So 17 years.
Okay. And then you got medically retired.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, yep. I had double fusion surgery on my neck, and that's an automatic, like that's out the door express, full medical retirement.
Got it.
So we're down there, and I feel like, I'm living in a neighborhood. It's a lot, if you go to Florida, everybody thinks Florida, they think Fort Lauderdale and palm trees and shit. Well, I live like in North Central Florida and kind of a little more of a rural area, kind of like where you are, like I'm not, and I'm not really a beach person. I'm like a woods and waters kind of guy. This was like a compromise between me and my wife. I wanted to go to North Georgia in the mountains, and she wanted to go to the beaches of Florida. And this was like a compromise. We're kind of like in the woods a little bit, but we can still, we're an hour from the beach, and
yeah.
But it's like I got down there. Nobody's testing me anymore. There's no test.
Yeah.
It's
all on you now.
Yeah. And like even we live in a safe community, I got a very pretty wife, but we're not going anywhere where I feel like I got to protect her or anything. It's like everything just kind of slowed down. And mentally, I started kind of thinking like, well, I should too. This is retirement. This is like you said, this is what we all want. We all want like, hey, I don't really have a schedule. I don't really, why go beat my body up like I used to? Why trouble myself with that? So, I was still working out, but there's levels to working out. I was going through the freaking motions. I was doing comfortable workouts. I'd do something a little bit. I'd go hiking. I'd go do like a half-ass weight workout and shit. And then slowly, it doesn't happen quickly. But slowly you start to kind of get a little more out of shape and your diet changes a little bit. And, I'd always been a pretty healthy eater, but I'll say one thing about jujitsu and before I continue this, but people talk about getting in shape for jujitsu. Don't go do jujitsu.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll change the way you eat.
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah. I've never left Jujitsu, and where my gym is, I go past like 2 Wendy's, 2 McDonald's, 2 Arby's. I've never had the urge to pull in and get a double, quarter pounder and a shake, but I go home and I make a steak and a spinach salad and I freaking destroy it. It'll do that for you.
Your body tells you, this is what I need for sure.
And when you start becoming more sedentary, it's the opposite. Now your body says, hey man, how about a Klondike? How about some chips, man? Have another beer, and it just slowly starts to kind of creep up on you. And then,
how old were you when you were going through this?
So this was like, so I'll be 48.
Okay.
Actually, at class 4, the day we check in, I'll turn 48.
Oh, nice.
So this started like about 43, 44 years old, so it started creeping up on me, And I did notice a transition. When I retired, I was 183 pounds. I wasn't Greg lapping abs, but, I was, fit and everything, and
nobody's Greg lapping abs.
There's only one Greg lapping. So, it just started to grind. The next thing, man, I crested 200 pounds. Then I crested 209. And then when I signed up for class 1, I was, my fat ass was down in an all-inclusive in Mexico. I was 218.
And that was the top. That's the highest.
That's the freaking worst, man. That was the highest ever got. I'm down there. like I said, I got a hot wife with, she's wearing a bikini. I'm kind of sitting there and I'm kind of starting to feel. And I told her at one point, I said, people are going to start thinking I'm rich. And she goes, yeah. She goes, what?
Trophy wife.
Yeah. Dude. And I said, I'm freaking fat. And I said, they're going to see you. And they're like, oh, that guy must have money or something. And, I hate to disappoint him. No, I just got fat, Like,
yeah. So, I'm not rich and I'm fat.
Yeah. It's like the worst possible thing. Like, at least if I were rich, it's like, well, you have some money. So, that's when I had to like make the change. So, that's kind of where it took off, that it just slowly happens. And it's not like, one day you wake up, and that's why you got to like keep after this. And for me, I'm like a vibe person, and I got down in Florida. So I was never a guy. I was always a guy you met and people were like, hey man, I'm surprised you're a cop. Like, I don't have like shit on my truck, or I didn't wear like blue line t-shirts and stuff, So
I would say, and I didn't know you as a police officer, but did you feel like it didn't define you?
100%. That's why I didn't think I'd suffer when I retired, because I never hung my hat on, I'm a cop.
Got it.
But what I didn't realize when we moved to Florida, I'd kind of lost like my friend base. I was a big bow hunter. I looked forward all year. Like, I'd work on my stands all summer. I'd be in the woods, deer hunting. And so when I moved to Florida, I lost all those things at once.
Is there not bow hunting down in Florida?
It's just not the same as Ohio. I mean, it's like scrubby ass woods and bugs, and the deer look like dogs, and it's like
yeah,
it's a totally different vibe. And I didn't know anybody to like go hunt with or go use their land and shit. So I just said like, oh fuck it,
And Ohio is where you lived the entire time you were a police officer?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. So I got down there, and this started why. Another critical thing you said that really spoke to me, because I'm kind of like, what's off, man? On paper, I got like the freaking life. Like, everybody's like, God, man, I'm envious of you. You live in Florida, you're retired, you get a pension check every month, and that tribe thing spoke to me. That was what I was missing. I'd lost my tribe.
Mm-hmm.
When you move away, and for anybody that's worked in law enforcement, and I tell everybody this, you know what happens when you walk out the door? Fucking nothing, man. They tear your name tag off of your mailbox.
Yep.
They cancel your email account, and they move right the fuck on.
And the machine keeps churning.
Absolutely.
And you are not missed for a second. And I don't say that like, obviously, if you're a valuable asset to the department, you're a valuable asset. You're a good guy, and you're doing what you should be doing. I get all that. But make no mistake, the day you leave, the department will be fine.
Yeah.
And the machine keeps churning, man.
And guys can even get weird, because everybody wants out, whether they're saying it or not.
Yeah.
And you got out.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So
I felt a little bit of that, but my circumstances were very different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had some people, but it's interesting that you say that, because now that I think about it, I did have some people that were angry with me.
Me too.
And it's like, Greg, why didn't you just do this? It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? And it's like, well, why do you even fucking care?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And
so you had some people, it's like almost a little bit of envy, huh? Because you're getting out ahead of them or whatever.
Yeah. They talk a little bit of shit like, oh, is there really something wrong with him? Like, I had double fusion surgery, man. It isn't like I went and said like, hey, I got depression or something you can't really see or anything,
Yeah.
But people still talk shit. And it was actually kind of funny.
Bro, they're jealous. He got out 3 years before he's supposed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm sure that was fucking part of your plan. You know what? I'm going to fuse a couple discs together,
right,
just so I can scam the system.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's worth it, right?
And that's what I've told people. I'm like, listen, I've been called a little crazy. Nobody's crazy enough to fake spinal surgery. First off, nobody's going to do surgery on your spine if you don't freaking need it.
Hey, doc, check this out.
Yeah.
I know that I'm fine, but I'm looking for an early retirement.
I'm going to shoot you a 20 and hook this up, So you get a little bit of that going on. And then it was kind of funny. I talked to a guy I used to work with a couple weeks ago, and they do like a little retiree breakfast, and I'm in Florida, they're in Ohio, but he's like, hey man, your name come up at the breakfast this morning. And I was like, oh, really? Like, what's up? And he says, yeah, one of the guys was like, hey, is Ron still trying to make it into the UFC?
Yeah, dude.
And I said, oh yeah, who was it? And he tells me, and I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, tell him I'll fly his fat ass down to Florida.
Yeah.
And I said, I've been doing jujitsu for about 10 months at this point. He'll get his fucking feelings hurt.
Yeah.
So he can come down and see what I'm doing if he wants to,
Isn't that bizarre though? It's a weird thing that a lot of human beings, and I've talked about this a lot on the show, the people you surround yourself with the people you interact with, they're trying to do one of two things. They're trying to tear you down or they're trying to build you up. And for whatever reason, when other people see success or see you doing something that is meaningful, is impactful, something you're enjoying, something that's changed the trajectory of your life, they take an opportunity to kind of poo-poo on it. Oh, what's he think? He's going to be a UFC fighter? It's like, no, and nothing I've ever said or suggested would even begin to cause me to think that I'm going to try and get into the UFC at 48 years old. We're not all Randy Couture. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, but it's just a weird thing. And it's like, even if it's kind of a little like off the cuff but it's just a little jab.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, why would you see me doing something that I'm enjoying and take an opportunity to kind of shit on it a little bit? Like, why do people do that? And the only conclusion I can draw is it's like, they're not happy with their life. So if they see you doing something that is enriching yours, fuck that. That must be stupid.
Yeah. And the guy that said it, and you know, I know he's probably a little bit joking, a little bit not, but it's a guy that works like literally an 8-hour shift on a bar stool every day. He's probably 265 pounds. He's probably got diabetes. He's high blood pressure.
Yeah.
You know, he's just maybe 4 years older than me, you know?
If he'd start eating carnivore and doing jujitsu,
yeah, hook him up with Sean.
Yeah, all that shit would end.
Yeah,
that shit would end. You know,
and that's why I told my buddy. I said, it just says more about where he's at than where I'm at.
Yeah,
you know, like,
dude, one like front row seat that I got to people's weird jealous behavior is when I got that GoFundMe.
Yeah,
because dude, I've never been a wealthy person. I mean, I was doing good as a police officer. I could pay my bills and I could, you know, manage life, but to have a chunk of money just given to my family by America in a day, you know what I mean? It was one of the most bizarre experiences I've ever felt. And it was powerful and it was impactful. And I did some good stuff with some of that money. I fought some legal battles with it because that was initially, we thought we were in a long legal battle. And come to find out after spending, I don't even remember how much with lawyers, we went through 3 different lawyers and they kept coming up with the same conclusion. Like, I don't really think this is a winnable case. So I'm not willing to take the case on commission. And it's like, fuck, dude. So now I'm looking at, am I just going to burn through all this money in legal fees? Or do I have to admit that maybe I don't have a case and it's time to just walk away and try and do something better with it? But regardless, I'm going off on a tangent. The whole reason I bring it up, there was a bunch of emails coming in that are like, what the fuck are you going to spend all that money on? Fuck you. Fuck your kids. Oh, your fucking kids get a bunch of money now? Fuck you. And it's like, dude, what do my kids have to do with this?
Yeah.
Like, why would any human being on planet Earth look at a guy on the internet that got a GoFundMe and decide I'm going to take time out of my day to write this guy and express like hatred and jealousy? And it was a lot of it. It wasn't like 1 or 2. It was a lot of people pissed off. And then a lot of people were like, hey, I'm having this problem and I'm in debt for these reasons and give me some of that money.
No way.
Oh yeah, bro. Dude, there was a guy that wrote like our gym, wrote me on Facebook, on Instagram, on email. He started hitting my wife up. That's like, hey, I need you guys to help fund my blah, 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 whatever, right? And it's like, dude, I've never seen more bizarre human behavior as soon as a large sum of money is interjected into your life. It's either they're jealous, they're mad, or they want it. And they feel like you should give it to them. And it's just like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with people, dude? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but it's the same thing. Is when people see you, it can be a GoFundMe or it can be you with your gi on and a smile on your face on Instagram. People see something that it's right there and it's in front of them. That person, some good has come to their life. Well, they have good in their life, but I don't feel like I have good in my life. So fuck them.
Yeah.
You know, his jiu-jitsu must be bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's one of the first lessons that you need to fucking learn is like celebrate other people's success.
Right.
Because there's enough success to go around.
Right.
You know, it comes back to the mindset of abundance. It's like, if I see you start fucking killing it in the real estate world and start killing it in jujitsu, and you get a bunch of money, and you and your hot wife can go on vacations more, and you get in the best shape of your life, like, dude, that stuff makes me fucking excited.
Same here.
Makes me happy for you. The last thing I would ever feel like is like, fuck, dude, I know we showed Ron this jujitsu stuff, but he's getting too good, or whatever it is.
Yeah, he actually did it. We didn't think he'd do it.
Yeah.
No, one thing I've learned, and I talk about this a lot with my wife, because you kind of said something a couple months ago on a podcast. You said, being a police officer, we kind of thought we were, hey, I made a 6-figure year salary. You did too. We had enough money. Like you said, we had boats, and we had a nice house, and we had some cool shit and everything. But, we weren't really where we were at a level where, hey, I can go do anything I want.
Yeah, it's never true. It's not true wealth.
It's not true freedom. It's like, hey, we're still got to be in the boundaries of things. We still got to watch a little bit what we spend. We're probably making a car payment or a boat payment or something. It's not like we're balling. So then when you hit another level, like, last year I made more money doing real estate, over double what I'd ever made, being a police officer. It opened up some doors that I'd never had open for me to do some things, to do, my daughters don't have college loans, they don't, their cars are paid for, their things like that. And I started to notice that, I told my wife one day, I said, hey man, kind of back off on what you put on Facebook, like shit we're doing, because people are, they start talking shit on you. They start, kind of casting out hate, and they do that. Now I've gotten kind of comfortable with it. So this last couple months, I kind of got a little more open, and a lot of this is with working with Novak, and you, Novak had been trying to get on me, put out your goals for 2022. And I was hesitant to, dude, because I know I'm going to get these people back. And, you start talking numbers, and you start talking health, and I start saying, I lost 25 pounds last year, and, and shit you got to be prepared. 70% of the people are going to congratulate you, and 30% are going to be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because, I don't want to do that.
Because misery loves company, man.
Yeah. So
they want you fat and broke too, because that's where they're at.
Exactly. So then you did that goal podcast. I'm like, fuck it, I'm sending it, So I put that thing out. When I've done a couple times, now I'm getting people back going, oh, hell, you're inspiring. That's awesome. That's great. And this one girl, she's like, oh, you're amazing. And I said, no. I was just willing to want better and do the work. There's nothing special or amazing about me, I just decided I'm going to do these things. And Jujitsu propelled me to have, I increased my real estate business by over 50%. And it wasn't the market, or people, oh, the market's up, the market's up. The market's been up in Florida for freaking years, It was literally, I just wanted more, and I worked harder, and I had confidence. It gave me a little bit of a new confidence to go out and do some things and put myself out there, and connecting with you, then connecting with Novak, and, and just getting on that path where, now I expect wins now. I want wins, and I expect them.
Mm-hmm.
That's my mindset.
Well, you've seen the formula work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know I've got you guys that, hey, when you got a little tribe that we're all on the same path, and we're all congratulating each other. And, Novak and I talked about you, man. I said something to somebody a week ago, and they thought it was bizarre. And they were like, they almost said, I don't believe you. And what I said was, I would give you my real estate business before I would give up my jujitsu and my tribe.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
Because if I have my jujitsu and my tribe, I'll go do another business.
You can start over, and you'll win.
I'll go do a car wash, or something. I don't do anything, and I'll win. But if I gave up what I've got going on now, then everything's going to go again.
Yep.
Everything will start circling the drain. So, and people find that really bizarre, but it all kind of ties together. And that's the other thing that's a magic in jiu-jitsu, because I'm not saying everybody in your gym, you're going to become best friends with, but you'll make fast friends.
You'll find the right people that you connect with.
Yes. Yep. You will find someone, you will find someone that's on a path. And, I spoke to the gym I go to in Florida. I talked to the guy that owns it, and I said, one of the things I was surprised about, once you start talking to the people on the mats, dude, we got some killer businessmen. We got the guy that owns the top 3 restaurants in our county is a purple belt in my class, and I roll with him every week. I've sat down and I don't know anything about the restaurant business, or I've sat down and had some conversations. That guy breaks down how the restaurant business works. I've learned so much from him. Nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, just, he and I talked on the phone a couple weeks ago for like an hour and 15 minutes in the morning, just business shit. That mindset pulls together winners.
100%, dude.
And you'll have more people in there that are winning at life than you are that are losing life. Now, full disclosure, there'll be probably a drug dealer in your jiu-jitsu gym.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, when people hear us talk, they're probably like, "This is fucking. There's no way. This is bullshit." And it's like, there is no absolutes, right? So, like, yeah, you're gonna have some shitty human beings cycle through your gym.
Yeah.
I've done a very good job at creating a vibe to where negative people feel out of place.
Right.
And they see themselves out pretty quickly. But that also took years to kind of establish and get everybody to buy off on, But no, there's some drama sometimes. There's some bullshit. There's some shitty people. That's the world we live in. But when you look at percentages, the proof's in the pudding. You will undoubtedly be surrounded by a higher quality of people on average.
Yeah.
Spending your time at the Jiu-Jitsu Academy than spending your time at the fucking bar.
Absolutely.
And Friday night is one of our biggest training sessions. Friday night, you can't get another person in the room. And we train from same training schedules from 6 to 7:30 p.m. But a lot of times the gym's not getting closed till 8:30, 9 o'clock on Friday. And that is because that is not only their opportunity to train, but that's their social circle for Friday evening.
Yeah.
It's not out getting fucking hammered and being stupid.
Right.
It's like, just like you said, you connect with the right people on the mats, and then you sit down and a guy's telling you a business plan about a restaurant he opened. And that's the kind of stuff that's like, you never know what little tips or tricks or like fucking nuggets that people hold that can increase the value of your life. Like, just for instance, the other day at practice, and I'm just talking about stuff on the mats, and I'm a pretty open book, It's because between this podcast is like, people that follow me or listen to me have a very good understanding of like who I am and what I'm about. And I'm no different on my mats. And I was talking about my upcoming project, building the new gym, expanding our mat room, all that stuff. And it wasn't even one of my athletes. It was one of the parents whose daughter trains with us. So she drove her daughter there and she heard what I was saying. And she goes, "Hey, Greg, I'm actually really good friends with one of the top county permitting officers. And I'd love to get you in touch with her to help with your project." She called us. We didn't even call her. She called us the next day and said, "Hey, I heard you're going to start a new project. These are the things you need to start looking into to expedite permitting." And like, it sounds like by being connected with one person that we may be able to cut our permitting time like in half.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And it's just because it's like, who you know is a big thing. But when who you know is in relationship with people that already trust and buy off on you and they can vouch for you, it's like, you're going to find the community on your mats. They're going to be people from all walks of life. Absolutely. You're going to have fucking doctors. You're going to have real estate agents. You're going to have police officers. You're going to have engineers, construction workers. And it gets to the point where it's like, "Hey, what's going on with, I'm having a plumbing issue. Hey, go call this guy." You know what I mean? And it's like, it's almost like a little community, and we all take care of each other when our strengths are something that we can use to help you out. And it's cool to see, man.
Well, if you look at my journey, you couldn't write this. It almost doesn't make sense. So, I randomly meet up with you because somebody texts me your video.
Yeah.
I nearly missed class 1, and probably, dude, if I'd have missed it, maybe I'd have been 235 right now sitting in Florida.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Bow hunting gators.
Yeah. So I connect with you, meet Novak at class 1.
Were you already in the real estate profession?
I had like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, to be honest with you. So, and this is another thing that jiu-jitsu gave me. I didn't feel comfortable with it, to be honest with you. I felt like a profiteer, to be quite frank with you. I was used to being like a, public servant. And dude, one of the things I loved about being a policeman, I loved it. I didn't have to worry about a budget, or I didn't have to make decisions based on financial motives or anything.
Yeah.
I loved that. So I got into real estate. We come down in Florida and bought a house, and dude, we got like just shoved around and jacked around by they almost like told us what we needed to buy. And I'm like, no, fuck you. This is what I want. And if you don't have it, then I'll stay my ass in Ohio,
Yeah.
So I just was kind of talking shit to my wife the one day. I'm like, Jesus, we really ran into some fucking dipshits down here. And she said, well, you're looking for something to do in retirement and you're smart enough to do it. Why don't you freaking do it?
You immediately identified some shortcomings.
Yeah.
Like I could do better than that.
Yeah. So I literally started looking. I just Googled like how to get a real estate license in Florida, and it come up you could do it online. And I'm like, oh, no fucking way. So I looked and I found this course, and it was like $110. And I found like a 20% off coupon. And I looked, I had like $90 in my PayPal account. I forgot I had it in there. I'm like, what do I have to lose? I didn't even remember I had this $90 in there. So I'm like, fuck it. I did it. So I started doing it, and I had some really immediate success. And I do it like totally different than most people do it, because I don't really have an ounce of salesman in me. I do it like a police operation. Like I identify the problem, I provide a solution, and I'm real honest up front. I had a guy tell me early on, he's one of my first clients. He's like, you're never going to make it in real estate because you're too honest. He said, I went through 7 agents.
Well, good though, because you might not make it in what other people consider success. But if you build the reputation of being honest and mission focused, you're going to attract the right people.
And that's what's happening.
And it's going to work, I
don't even advertise. And I did like almost $10 million in sales last year, all off referrals, just because people like they're comfortable giving my name out. They're like, hey, this guy will take care of you. So it did work. Like people did buy in.
That's fucking rad.
Yeah. So it did work. But
I love that you're talking about this right now, because particularly in today's world, another email that I get often is, I'm a soldier, or I'm a police officer, I'm a firefighter, and I just can't work for this government anymore. It's either a vaccine mandate, or it's enforcing mask rules, or it's just the overall negativity that's infiltrated the government at every single level, that I have a lot of police officers that are like, what should I do? And I've had people say to me, it's like, when you walked away, you had jujitsu. So you had a plan B already that you could fall back on. And it's like, if you see that, you're telling yourself a lie, because my plan B was not in effect yet. I had my gym. My gym produced zero money. It was more like a little hobby club.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a group of guys that but it didn't even cover the bills.
Yeah.
And so, but if you tell yourself, oh, well, this person has some opportunity, but I don't, so I'm going to be stuck being a cop. Like, no. If it's time to walk away for whatever reason, maybe, like you're not jiving with the profession anymore, you don't agree with what's going on with your chain of command or politics, and you've determined that you would be better off walking away, walk away and start your life over.
Bet on yourself.
Yeah, you can't allow the fear of failing to keep you stuck in a career field for this is the craziest thing I get from police officers. They're like, oh, I'm a decade in, so I'm already halfway done.
Yeah, I can't quit. I need the pension.
I'm halfway done. You're ready to give a decade of your life to something that you're no longer passionate about.
Your prime years.
To do what? To chase the retirement that you just talked about being more depressing than actually being an active patrol officer.
You know what I learned about retirement? I'm never fucking retiring.
Dude, I like that.
I'm going to be doing real estate like the day before I fucking die. I hope I put a home in contract and it closes after I fucking die. Because I believe in being physically and mentally engaged should just be a lifelong endeavor.
I love that, dude.
It should never stop, man. Like, one of my goals, you probably saw it for 2022. I'm finishing a bachelor's degree I started 30 fucking years ago, bro. And it's hard. It's hard as fuck. Like, I had to like log on last night, and it was kind of funny. And I'm like, they did like this live Zoom thing. Well, I said, fuck it, went to Jujitsu, and I asked the professor, I said, hey, are you going to record that? He's like, yeah, you can watch it, but I'd like you to attend in the future. I said, well, I got something really important I got to do tonight, so I log on to that thing. And dude, there's like serious fucking smart people, like from Germany, and it's like this high ass level philosophy class because I'm in my senior year, so now you got to take shit like with smart people,
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, I'm like the knuckle dragger in the class, but hey, I'm doing it, I'm there, I'm committed, and I'm gonna freaking do it.
That's cool, man,
because it is uncomfortable, and I'm like, the one thing I've always had going for me, if something scares me, I know I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And that's usually the sign of something, like, if jiu-jitsu would have been easy, I'd have quit. Like, if you'd have been like the taekwondo dude and sold me snake oil on taekwondo, and I went,
I'd be like, fuck this.
It's like,
no, it's funny you say that, guys. I was just having a talk with one of my buddies, and it's like something as simple as the cold shower. Mm-hmm. If I'm in the shower, and this isn't a rule for every single shower that I take, but if I ever even have the slightest inclination that's like, I don't want to take a cold shower today. Fuck you. Water's going to cold right now, because there's something inside of you that's afraid of confronting some adversity and afraid of enduring a little uncomfortableness. Fuck you. Water's going cold. Now, if I don't think that, if I'm just taking a normal shower and I never come to that point where it's like, man, I'm not feeling cold water today, then sometimes I don't do it. It's not like I have to do it every day. But if I ever hear that weak voice say, not today, well, you're fucked. Now you have to do it right now.
100%.
And there's something powerful inside of you when your internal, what's Joe Rogan call it? Your inner bitch. When your inner bitch is saying, don't get in the cold water. Don't go to jujitsu. Don't go to CrossFit today. Dude, just turn the television on and watch another episode of The Office. And like, it's bizarre to me because I've been working out consistently, since I was 15 years old. And I still have that little voice that's like, just take today off.
Dude.
What? Why? I know that I'm going to feel better when I'm done, but that's still in there. So after years and years, you have to know, you hear the weakness, you have to fucking stamp it out, dude.
Dude, we had this exact conversation. My inner bitch sent Novak a text Monday morning. I flew in, Sunday night, like 9, 10 o'clock. By the time I get up to the Novak compound, it's literally, I told you about, like, he fell asleep on my way there and I couldn't get in a fucking house. I sat on the driveway for like 20, 30 minutes and started to go back down the mountain, So I go back and now it's 12 o'clock, 12:30. I'm getting to bed. Well, he gets up at 3:30 to go to the gym. So I unpack my shit and everything. And he told me, he's like, hey, it's 3:30, wake up. Well, I set my alarm for 3:30, dude.
Some Jocko shit.
Yeah. And I'm not really into that, in full disclosure. So I get up, I set my alarm at 3:30. I grab my phone, I send him a text. I'm like, bro, I didn't even sleep 3 hours. Like, I'm not going. And I roll back over and I was like, that was my inner bitch speaking.
Yeah.
I will beat myself up the rest of the day if I flew fucking 2,000 some miles and laid in bed while Mike Novak goes to the fucking gym with Craig, because Craig, I love Craig and we stay in contact and I know he's looking forward to seeing me. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah.
So I roll over and start putting my shit on. Next thing, Mike's knocking at the door. You ready, bro? I'm like, 1 second, man. I just had to brush my teeth and shit. And I come out and he's got his phone in his hand. He goes, oh, man, sorry. I didn't see your text. I said, that wasn't from me. I said, that was from my inner bitch. And I fucking killed it. And I'd already started getting ready. So we're good, bro. Let's go. And then I got down there. As soon as I got out of the truck, Craig comes over and gives me a big bear hug. And it felt really fucking good. I'd have been so pissed at myself if I'd have fucking missed that. But just, we can talk all this shit. Like you said, that is still in our fucking monkey brains.
I wonder why that is. Dude, I wonder why hard work, it must just be like a deep-rooted survival mechanism that it's like, dude, get fat and stay hidden and don't get eaten by a fucking tiger. I don't know.
Dude, I read Novak, this thing from my philosophy course, and it was written in 125 AD by a Greek philosopher, Epictetus. And he is speaking to physical fitness, and he says you have to commit, and you have to do it in heat, and you have to do it in cold, and you have to do it when you don't want to, and you'll probably have to hire a trainer, and you'll have to pursue that with the same diligence you would in seeing a doctor. It's that important. Dude, I'm not smart enough to tell you how long ago that was. That's fucking a long time.
Yeah.
And it was the same conversations going on. It has not ever fucking changed. So yeah, why is that we all agree it's really important, but we're like pre-programmed to fight it.
Yeah, pre-programmed to fight it and pre-programmed to eat a large pizza instead of a salad with some, well, I mean, we already kind of touched on that, as like your activity and your lifestyle start to all kind of encompass what you crave, but there's still a part of your brain that's like, man, a blizzard from Dairy Queen sounds good right now.
Yeah, like Snickers and shit they put in there.
It's like, I know as soon as I eat it, I'll regret it.
Well, so my wife and I.
But why do I want it?
My wife and I go out to Vegas like in December. So we were like flying out there, and we eat really clean and everything. And we're like, hey, we fly out in the morning. We're hungry as fuck. We're like, let's do like a cheat meal. So we pull in. There's like one of those freaking like Bobby Flay burger things, So we go over and pay like some ridiculous amount for this stupid burger. We both eat it. Dude, we felt like fucking shit because we hadn't ate a burger and fries in fucking months like that. We're like, so not worth it, But we wanted to do it. But I got to finish the real estate thing.
Yeah. No, I want to talk about some more stuff related to that as well.
Yeah. So I started in the real estate, and I have like this immediate success, like I started working for this guy that was like this startup thing in Florida. He had this idea of how to do it. And, I won't bore you with all the real estate details, but so I start working for him, and, I'm doing good and everything. And all of a sudden, I started realizing the guy was like a dick, and he treated everybody that worked for him like shit. Like everybody fucking hated him, like all his employees, and making this fucker rich. And he was just like a, like a leech, So he calls me up one day and asks me for a favor to help out like this other agent that was kind of struggling. And me, I'm like, I'll help anybody out, like I'd met the dude. He was a cool dude and everything. So I'm like, so I agree to help him out. And he's like, yeah, we'll kind of try to work the money out if you help this guy out. So I bust my balls, and, I recognize that being in that business, I had a pension. I'm not going to lose my house. I'm not going to, I'm not really going to suffer over if I don't get a check. But this guy he was in that position where he was having some hard times and he needed help closing some deals. So I help him out, and I go to get my paycheck, and this fucking millionaire motherfucker stole $146.50 off me. So I tell my team leader, I'm like, hey, we had this agreement, and my shit's $146.50 short. And he's like, oh, let me call him up. And he calls him up, and he's like, hey, that dude that you were helping made a mistake on the paperwork, and we lost that much money, so he's fining you guys, for it. I'm like, oh.
Even though you were just asked to help out.
Exactly. And I'm already taking short money. So I call this fucker up, and I'm like, hey, man. So I tell my team leader, I said, I fucking quit. And he's like, what? I said, I fucking quit.
Yeah, dude. I'm past the point in my life of playing games and bullshit.
So this millionaire fucker calls me up, and he's like, hey, let's discuss this, Ron. And I said, well, I don't think there's anything to discuss. I said, unless you want to tell me I can pick up a check for $146.50. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And I said, and this is exactly what I said to him. I said, then fuck you. The conversation's over. And he says, Ron, he said, I'm looking at your productivity here. He said, you're averaging $8,000 to $9,000 a month as a new agent. He said, there's nobody fucking stupid enough to quit over $146.50.
Want to bet?
I said, you just met one, motherfucker. And I said, fuck you. And I hung up. So the team leader calls me back like an hour later, and he's like, hey, he's got that check ready for you if you'll come back. I said, tell him to stick it right up his fucking ass.
Yeah.
My wife comes home from work. I said, hey, I'm retired again. She's like, what happened? I tell her, I quit over $146.50.
Bro, you didn't quit over a monetary amount. You quit over principle.
Exactly.
And I wish more people would realize that that's an option for you.
Yeah.
Like if whatever you're doing professionally is in any type of conflict with your morals, you can say pound sand and start over again. And you even said, well, I have a pension, so it might be a little bit of a security blanket, but so what? You earn that.
Yeah.
Right? That's neither here nor there. That's something you put the time in and you earn that. But it doesn't change the fact that when someone is doing something that is out of alignment with your moral compass, fuck you. Because if that dude would screw you over $146, you have to ask yourself, what would be another problem where he wouldn't have my back or he wouldn't support me?
Right.
Because as soon as you know someone's not willing to support you over something trivial, well, they're not going to be there to support you on something massive either. So fuck you. I'm out.
No, and you're exactly right. That's what I told people. I said, I'm making him money, and I'm not going to line the pockets of somebody that's a fucking piece of shit and a fraud.
Yeah.
It would be like, people have asked me, like, hey, aren't you kind of buddies with Anderson? I said, yeah, I've got to know him a little bit. We're cool and everything. They're like, well, what's he really like? And I said, listen to this fucking podcast. That is exactly what he's fucking like. I said, that day I walked in Guns and Gis, I come back, we had like a 10-minute conversation. And I'm like, fuck, man, this dude is the real deal. Like,
well, bro, that's why, like, when I decided to start the podcast, I made a conscious decision that it's like, I am not going to try and like walk any lines or appease people, because as soon as you start doing that, I feel like your product starts to become watered down. And so I was like, okay, I think the best way to create a podcast that has any type of validity or actually reaches people is it's like, I'm going to talk in a manner that a certain percentage of people are going to fucking hate.
Right.
And I have people that hate my fucking guts, which is bizarre to me, but I do. But the thing is when you're authentic to who you are and you put that out there, what you're going to find is you're going to connect more with the right people. So you try and appease everybody and walk the middle road, you're not going to connect with anyone. Or if you're authentic to who you are, what you're going to find is you do develop a base of people that support the show that really buy off on who you are and what you're about. And then that's where this like podcast/listener relationship becomes authentic. And I know that sounds kind of bizarre, but I mean, I've thought about it from a consumer standpoint because I love podcasts.
Me too.
I liked Cleared Hot long before I was ever on it. You know what I mean? Dude. I listened to Rogan and I like Mike Glover's podcast, and it's bizarre to me that now I've created my own platform and been able to connect with a lot of these people. But I feel like the reason that it's working is because I just try and be me.
100%.
And if you're not going to just try and be you, don't fucking do this.
No.
You know?
Hey, there's a market for snake oil. There's podcasts that are full of shit, and full of shit people listen to them, and that's what they're looking for. They're listening for somebody else to piss down their leg and tell them lies about life, and that's out there. I listened to 4 podcasts. I did listen to 3, but because you added a 4th, so.
Nice.
I listened to Rogan, listened to Andy, listen to you, and then you got me listening to that Frisella dude, man.
Oh, bro. Bro, you want to talk about people that you will never question what is on the mind of Andy Frisella.
No.
And bro, that in itself, it's like, it's refreshing.
Fuck yeah.
Because in today's world, a lot of people, especially him, because he's an entrepreneur, he's extremely successful, he's very wealthy, he has a lot of influence, like, he could ride off into the fucking sunset with hundreds of millions of dollars. He doesn't owe anybody anything. He doesn't need to fucking convince anybody of anything. He's fucking self-made man, right?
Yeah.
Well, with all the things that he could do with his success, he's chosen, you know what? I'm going to still fight to be a voice of authenticity. And I'm still going to put out the message that I think Americans need to hear, because it's not about him. It's about seeing our country and people within our country find success and find happiness and find truth and secure their liberties. And it's like, once you see people like that standing up for what they believe, who the fuck, why is anybody unwilling to stand up for what they believe? Like, that's the real, in my opinion, that is the real key to success in any type of industry that's related to media or podcasting, or like if there's a public spotlight on you. It's again, like, you can try and appease everybody, or you can just give them honesty. And bro, Andy Frisella has created a platform that I feel spans the racial divides, spans political divides, spans like cultural divides. Like, people hear him and they're like, he's right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, dude?
But I feel like the last 20 years being full of shit was popular, and that was kind of what was kind of in vogue. That was kind of, and now honesty, I feel like the pendulum's swinging a little bit. Like, I've had people ask me like, hey, you're in the real estate business. Like, maybe you shouldn't say some of the shit you say. Maybe you shouldn't put some of this shit on social media you do. And I said, no, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that.
I want you to know who you're doing business with. And if I'm not for you, I'm at peace with that. I think honesty is also peacefulness. And
you're going to have better professional interactions if people are like, okay, I know what this dude's about. Now let's move forward on a professional level. Like right now, you're wearing a DeSantis hat. You know what I'm saying? It's
dude,
like,
that's my dude, man.
Hey, I'm not. Yeah. Why should you have to pretend like he's not your dude?
Yeah.
Just to help sell a house.
Right.
Now we're not being authentic. You know?
And honesty inspires more honesty. Like, you inspire me to be more honest and to come on here and tell people, hey, I was a fat fuck. I was, I'd gone to the doctor before that. I went to get blood and they're like, your fucking blood pressure's high. Like I was starting to be an unhealthy fuck and I was on a bad path. And that doesn't feel good to say, but it feels good to say it now because I fixed it.
Yeah.
But I look back at that. I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud that I let, my body go and gained 25 freaking pounds and it looked like shit. And,
well, maybe but maybe you're not proud of the fact that you got there, but the fact that you turned it around.
Fuck yeah.
It's inspiring as fuck, bro.
Dude.
You should be proud as fuck because there's other people that are in the shoes that you were in a year ago that are going to hear this and it may be the straw that like tips them over the edge and they're like, okay, it's time. And I talk about it all the time, man. If we get about 50,000 downloads a month right now, and maybe this podcast only resonates with one person. And it motivates that one person to be like, man, you know what? I'm a retired police officer. I'm a little overweight. There's a gym that I drive by every day I've been thinking about. He hears your story and he goes and does it. And we impact one human being. It's worth the fucking 2 hours that we're sitting here doing this,
Fuck yeah. And the feeling like you said, when I walked back in there in May and you guys looked at me different and you complimented me. Then at the end of class, Joel calls me up in front of everybody and he's like, Ron, he did this, he did that. And dude, it felt fucking amazing. Everybody, I'd like for everybody to feel that because, if you slay your inner bitch, if you put yourself on a different trajectory, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Your business is going to get better. Your marriage is going to get better. Everything in your life is going to start to tie in and pull together. Your diet will clean itself up. You go do jujitsu 3 or 4 days a week. Trust me, you're not going to stop on the way home and buy fucking Klondikes. You're just not.
Yeah.
That problem is now fixed. I don't want to sound like Jocko, but it's like, hey, if you're not drinking enough water, do jujitsu. If your diet's shitty, do jujitsu. If you're depressed, do jujitsu. You have sleeping problems, do jujitsu.
100%, dude.
And it all starts to like just pull in together. And it'll put you on like I said, I was inspired by your honesty. You come on here and if you had somebody advising you, they'd tell you, shut the fuck up, man. You shouldn't go on there and say some of the shit you say, like.
That's what I said. Like the first time someone said the word faggot on my show, I was like, I think that's like off limits, right?
Yeah.
And then just the fact that I had that, I think that word's off limits for like media. I was like, you know what? No, fuck it. We can say whatever we want. Dude. And anything you want to say, you say it. Because if you are afraid to say a word out of public backlash, you're already starting to compromise how you articulate things.
Absolutely.
And so if you want to say he was being a fucking faggot and that's how you want to articulate it like you want to. And I'm putting it out over my show. And if somebody hears it and they don't like it, bro, okay, you don't like that word. So be it. But if me or one of my guests wants to create an emotion based on this word, then they should have the freedom to do that, And it's weird that it's like there's certain things that you're not supposed to say, and it's like, well, why is that? What's the real root behind that? Because here's the thing: I have gay friends.
Yeah,
I'm not a mean person. I'm not a hateful person. I know who I am. So if I were to say that, it's not having all of these negative attachments that the media wants to put on you. You know what I mean? And so use this platform to say whatever you want to say. And inevitably we're going to resonate with the right people because of it,
Well, and that ties into the final part of my real estate story. So connecting with you and, obviously we're very real and raw when we're at Guns and Gis. You kind of gave me some shit. I showed up that first one I remember I had that fucking like thigh holster, because that's all I could source at the time. And you were like,
I'm like, what the fuck is this, bro?
Yeah, you're like, fuck, well, I was like, man, that's all I could find. But you were right. You're like, it's fucked up. I didn't fucking like.
And when you came back, your gear is you're like an operator, bro.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't go fucking cry.
And bro, that's another reason why the course is cool is like, gets to shine a spotlight on some of the shortcomings.
Absolutely.
Not just your physical or your mental shortcomings, but literally like, how's your gear set up? How do you draw your pistol? How does this belt ride? Where do I like my spare mags to sit? Should I have a tourniquet on my belt? Like all these little things that you may or may not think about. You spend a weekend in the range with a bunch of guys because the assistant instructors on our range are lap and SWAT team members.
Well, I got to tell you one of the most impressive things about Guns and Gis, and I'm sure you've experienced this. Anybody that's been in the police or military has saw this. Having a sameness across the cadre line is very rare.
Mm-hmm.
How many classes you've been to where a dude's come over and told you one thing, and then 3 minutes later, a guy comes down the line and changes what the other dude just told you? And it's fucking frustrating as a student. It fucking sucks. Every one of your guys are on the same page. It doesn't matter if it's Dustin or if it's Dave or if it's Lappin himself or if it's you. You know, I've had feedback from all of you guys, and it's all the same. It makes it very easy for a student to kind of level up. And that's so important. And you guys have done just such a good job with that. But, you know, we're very real there. You know, we're very real with our shortcomings and our capabilities and our gear, you know, and it's a good check for all that. And that leads into, so like the third kind of part of my real estate kind of journey is, so, you know, I kind of start struggling and I start realizing like real estate's very hard to break into. Some people ask me why I do jitsu, and I tell them it's because these 75-year-old ladies in Florida, if they could kick my fucking ass, they would. They fucking hate me, bro. You know, because I've come in and nobody thought I would do well, and I have, and I've taken business from them. And, you know, if I ever get shot, like it was probably one of them. It wasn't like some gang member. It was some 77-year-old blue hair that I took a deal from. So I started on this, and I'm kind of getting traction again, but you know, I'm kind of hitting a wall. And so I'd connected with Novak, and I'd kind of been watching what he's doing a little bit. And then I meet Bob at class 2. Bob and I become friends, and you know, of course, Mike's married to Bob's daughter, so it all starts to like tie in. Well, then I see Mike kind of does a business shift, you know, last year, and I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" He's like, "Hey, we're doing this new thing. We're going a new direction. You know, might be something you're interested in. You know, maybe we lock arms and kind of go on this, do this together." And so we start talking, and because, you know, I'd met him through you, and I knew he was your like legit friend out here, not just a guy that went to class, but your legit friend. This is Bob's daughter. Like it all just starts to pull together. So back in Florida, like on the real estate level, I'm probably like a purple belt to kind of, you know, give you a little idea. You know, like
you're doing good.
I'm pretty legit, but you know, I got it going. A lot of people would love to, you know, 90% of the people in real estate business would love to have what I built. But Novak's like a Joao, bro.
Oh, I know. Yeah. He's black belt world champion.
Bro. So I come out here this week. If I would have easily got my feelings hurt, like this would have been a bad trip because Novak broke my whole business down and basically rebuilt it this week. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing with this?" And I showed him. He's like, "Yeah, it's a piece of shit, bro. What are you doing?" "Yeah, this is how we do it." It was the same thing at Guns and Gis. I had to be willing to be like, okay, now I got to put in hard work on this. And you're going to see me again because I'm going to be out here like every 3 or 4 months, like, you know, getting on the same page with him. If I'd have been like easily hurt this week, dude, I could go back to Florida and I'm making a shit ton of money. And, you know, even without Mike Novak, but I can't, I'm going to go higher because of him, and higher because I can put my ego aside just like I did at Guns and Gis. I can put my ego aside and say, you know, there's levels to this shit. And if I want to be on the next level, I got to be willing to suck this up, do it like this. It's uncomfortable. You know, I got to learn new shit, dude. I got to go back and I got to blow up a bunch of shit and go to the printer and have a bunch of new shit made and do it. You know, it's like work, man. It's not, you know, all like having margaritas on the beach and shit, you know, like it's hard work,
man. And like, think about that. Like a year ago when you were packing your bags to come to Guns and Gis and you said you had some reservations and you were thinking about throwing in the towel. Who would have ever thought that attending that course, aside from what we've already talked about with your health and your jiu-jitsu and your self-worth, all that stuff, but you built a business relationship and a business connection that is now helping you take your personal business, completely unrelated to Guns and Gis, to the next level. You know?
It was the same mindset.
Yeah.
It was willing to, you know, kill your inner bitch, kill your ego, be uncomfortable. You know, it's uncomfortable. Now I got to go back and retool all this shit and redo all this shit and spend some money like reorganizing. And, you know, I got to hire, an administrative assistant. Now, I've never had an employee, bro. Like that's weird to me, man. Yeah. Like, and I got a girl lined up and she's awesome. And she sends me a text the other day. She's like, hey, if I just did this because I'm going to start working for you. Like I went ahead and started. I'm like, dude, that felt kind of weird. I've never had anybody work for me or answer to me. And, it's like a whole different plane now. But hey,
man, I mean, you've already touched on it a little bit earlier. You said like, you're never retiring.
No.
Right? Because you know how the saying goes, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yes.
Right? And so now you've found this new mission and it's fucking inspiring to see, dude, because I mean, they've done studies. I think I've talked about on the podcast before when I was in college, and they were talking about metabolism, right? And what do all Americans say? Oh, when you get older, your metabolism slows down. Oh, when I retired, my metabolism slows down. And I'm fat now and I'm out of shape now because my metabolism slowed down. And what the studies have found is that your metabolism doesn't slow down, your lifestyle changes.
100%.
And they looked in cultures, and they were like Mediterranean fishing cultures is where they did the study, where they would monitor people's activity level. They would monitor their professional careers, and these people were fishermen. But in these like island communities, they're not, hey, fish until you're 55 and then you're done. No, I'm a fisherman for life. So from 17 years old until they're 80, they're waking up and they're going out on those little wooden canoes and they're setting their nets and stuff. And what they found is their energy levels, their body composition, everything stayed the same as long as their lifestyle stayed the same. And they came to the conclusion, it's like the human metabolism, the overwhelming majority of what our metabolism does is it keeps us at 98.6 degrees.
Yeah.
It keeps us alive.
Yeah.
That's why mammals have to eat so much, is because we're trying to maintain a body temperature, whereas a reptile can eat one time a month because they get their heat from the sun, right? And so it debunked that myth that Americans are telling ourselves, hey, we retire, we get old, and then our metabolism slows down and we get fat and we die. And it's like, nope, that's a lie you've told yourself because you don't want to keep putting in the work. That should be a new fucking slogan or sticker or something. I haven't thought about how to word it, but it's like I'll never retire or whatever.
Fuck no, bro.
No.
And another lie we tell ourselves, I've had people ask me like, so, doing jujitsu, what do you do with like the 25-year-olds? I said, the same fucking thing I do with a 45-year-old or a 55-year-old. And what people don't understand, you've told yourself that you're 45 and you can't compete with a 25-year-old. It's a fucking lie, man.
100%. Yep.
I'm a pretty athletic guy. I always was. It hasn't changed that much at my age. Has it changed a little bit? Sure.
Of course.
Father Time and Mother Nature are both undefeated. But it's not a fucking death sentence. If I lose a jiu-jitsu match to a 25-year-old, it's because he had fucking better jiu-jitsu. It's not because he's 25.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. If you lose a jiu-jitsu match to a 25-year-old because he is a little more athletic, like maybe your skills are right on par, right?
Yeah.
You both bring the same knowledge of jiu-jitsu, but he's a little younger, a little faster, his gas tank's a little better, and he beat you because of those attributes. Welcome to the mats, dude.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's lessons to be taken from that. There's ways to allow yourself to get more motivated by that. And then there's also just like, again, we talked about earlier, you can't be full of shit on the mats, right?
Yeah.
So if a younger, stronger, more athletic athlete is putting you in bad positions, then that's a reality of life that you're getting exposed to. And you figure out how to deal with those emotions, or you figure out how to overcome them and defeat him. And you're probably not going to defeat him with your physical attributes. So how do I defeat him? I got to find a chink in his armor.
Well, we've got attributes too as guys that are in our 40s.
Yeah.
That old man strength is a real fucking thing, bro. And these younger guys they're like, oh, you fucking grab me. And I got good grips. And 20 years of being, I started working out when I was 13 years old, and I pretty much, other than the time we described, I pretty much kept my foot on the gas pretty good. That builds like a core. And
a lifetime of fitness and health for sure.
And those guys will tell me like, oh, dude, when you grab me, it's like a little different because you're an older dude. You older dudes grab a little different. We do, because if you've been working out for 20, 25, 30, 35 years, it is different. The other thing, I'm patient, man. Like last night, like I said, now, when I'm in side control, I'm thinking, keep tight, keep close, no fucking gaps, heavy.
And cook them a little bit.
Yeah. Where those young dudes, man, they're trying to, and my jiu-jitsu, listen, I'm never going inverted, and I got my own game,
Yeah.
and I know how to slow it down. And I watch how the young dudes, they start breathing. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, like,
bro, when I hear someone start to pant, that's the victory is mine now.
Exactly. The beginning of the end.
And dude, it's psychological warfare. So when I'm tired, I will not let my opponent know that I'm tired. I'll still breathe through my nose.
Yeah.
And I try and keep my mouth shut, because when they're and they look over and your mouth is closed and you just have this look on your face like you're completely calm. And I'll even do other things sometimes, like, and this is where jiu-jitsu starts to become 3D chess, right? Whereas like I'll look over and I'll see like a piece of fuzz or something on the mat, and I'll pick it up and I'll like flick it over to the edge, right?
Savage.
And just like letting them know, like, dude, I'm trying to fucking kill you right now, but you're more concerned about moving this like ball of hair out of the way.
Yeah.
And just little things like that, right? And I don't want people to ever know if they've put me in an uncomfortable position or if I'm getting tired. And dude, that was me with Novak yesterday. Like, I knew that I was going to have to weather a little bit of pressure. And then he started breathing hard.
Dude, he did.
And I was like, boom.
Hey, do you know that at the gym, Craig predicted exactly how that match would go down?
Because that's how me and Craig's rolls go too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were at the gym the day before, and Craig says to Mike, he's like, oh, you and Greg got to have like a battle, bro. And Mike's like, yeah, whatever. Okay. So Craig and I were talking. I said, what do you think, man? How's that going to go? What's that going to look like? And he goes, I'll tell you exactly what it's look like. He's like, Greg's going to try to get him in butterfly, and he's going to try to roll him. He said, Mike's going to posture, and it's going to go back and forth. And he said, Greg won't really be in any trouble, because I mean, Mike's a man beast, but he just doesn't have the skill.
Train. Yeah,
no, he doesn't have the skill set of jiu-jitsu. And he called it, dude, like exactly how it went, that you would just stay patient, slow cooking, beat him down. And like I said, I was trying to explain to my wife this morning. I'm like, this is what jujitsu is. This is the exact idea of it. Like, dude, that guy is a man mountain and a beast.
Yeah.
And if somebody took me and you and put us next to him and Sean and said, hey, how's this going to work out? Nobody would look at me and you and be like, these guys are okay.
Yeah, they got this.
Yeah, nobody would bet on us if they didn't know jiu-jitsu. And like, those guys are physical freaks, man.
I feel like the UFC has done a good job at finally shining a light on the fact that the superior martial artists will win. Because for a long time, I mean, we were fucking young in the 80s back when like all of our action figures were Commando and Predator and He-Man and all, like, if you were an action figure, you looked like Jay Cutler or Ronnie Coleman,
Yeah.
And so for a long time, that's what we associated like tough men with.
Right.
And I think bodybuilding is very interesting, and it takes more discipline than people can imagine. And so like, I don't say this with any type of negative connotations attached to it, but bodybuilding is not, that doesn't make you good in combat arts whatsoever.
No.
At the end of the day, if you have 300 pounds of muscle, it's still tissue that needs to be oxygenated. And those dudes fatigue fast as fuck, man.
Dude, you see it in UFC all the time. A guy comes out and he's freaking just jacked.
Traps to his ears and shit.
Just looks like a scary human. And here comes some Brazilian that's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was like, 3.8 years old, and just did exactly.
Yeah, like, dude, like Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
Like no one would look at Charles Oliveira if he was sitting at a bar stool and think that dude will murder you. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like
who we were talking about?
He has glasses that are an inch thick, and he just has like a kind energy around him, and he'll fuck you up, dude.
You know who I was like glad to meet, and Mike and I talked about him? Daniel.
Oh, bro. Did you roll with Daniel?
This is another reason I got to come back. You can only roll with so many people. And I didn't get to you last night because, like I was waiting on you at the Nogi night, but you were like in demand that night,
Bro, well, let me tell you, on the Nogi night, so normally I roll Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Those are the days I roll hard, right? And Thursday, I don't teach. Craig runs the gym Thursday night because he does like Nogi wrestling style stuff. But Tuesdays, I still teach, but I don't roll. And, but there's a group of new kids there. And one of them was that kid that I went with last. And I don't know if you watched that match or not.
I did. And I spoke to him before I left last night.
Okay. So his name's Eli, and he's
a blonde-haired kid.
Yeah.
Good wrestler.
Yeah. He's a good, tough kid. But, or no, you're thinking of Skylar.
Oh, okay.
So Skylar was the good wrestler that was there last night. They're both 21 and they're both blonde. So I see you can get them confused. But Eli's only been with us a week. Brand new. The guy from Tuesday night.
Gotcha.
And he's so tough. And I was like, where did you train before? He's like, I've never trained. I just grew up with 2 older brothers. And he goes, so I had to be tough.
I heard you say to him, like, bro, you've been here a week and you're already good.
Yeah. And so, but because he's such a strong-willed athlete, he's already having some success with people that have been there for a year, right? And again, there's no one formula that's going to make you just somehow be able to beat everybody, because everybody brings a different problem to solve. So when you get this new kid, well, his problem to solve is his indomitable will. He has one speed in one direction, and it's forward, and it's 100%. And so I was like, all right, I see his attributes, and I see where he can take a fight and try and pull it into his realm. So I'm going to beat him in his own game.
Yeah.
And I didn't do this to try and demoralize him, or like, I knew this young, fit stud needs me to put it to dial 10 so you can see what 2 decades of training will do for you. And I think I submitted him like 12 times or something. It's just every time I put my hands on him, I was choking him. And I told him afterwards, I'm like, hey, I did that because I want you to feel jiu-jitsu.
Well, he come over to me afterwards, and because he knew I was watching, because me and Craig and I were watching, and he comes over to me afterwards, he's like, I got fucking smashed. And I said, good. And he looked at me and he said, like, gave me a strange look. And I said, that guy's been 20 years in jiu-jitsu. He's a high-level black belt. And not only that, you know, you're a freaking amazing athlete as well. I said, if he didn't smash you, you're wasting your time here, bro.
Exactly. What are you doing here?
I said, I told him, I said, listen, that Joe Al said that to me right off the bat. Joe Al said something that was really awesome. He told me, he said when he started competing that, you know, he'd lose, he'd get really upset at himself. He said, I'd get upset to where I'd sit in the hallway and cry. I was so mad I'd lose. And he said, then I just got it in my mind, like, that's jiu-jitsu. Like, this is what I'm pursuing. And if it doesn't work, then what am I doing? This guy should beat me. He's better than me. He's been doing it longer. Then we're living a lie. And if we didn't see the things we saw on the mats last night where jiu-jitsu won out over bigger, more physical, stronger athletes, then we're selling snake oil. We're living a lie. We're full of shit.
Yep.
And nobody wants to be, you know, involved in that. So I told that kid, I said, good, that's exactly what should have happened. And it sucks. It hurt. You know, we've all been there, and damn. Yeah. Know? But that's exactly how that should have played out.
You know, something that I've been telling myself lately, and I think I might have talked about this on the podcast before, but when I lock horns with someone, and I don't care if it's competition or if it's just friends at the academy, instead of feeling like I'm putting myself on the line, what I'm telling myself is, hey, I've developed my game for 20 years. And it's at this level. This is where it's at. This is how far I've grown it. These are the skill sets I bring to the table. The other person that I'm locking horns with, he's developed his skill set for however many years, and he's now at this level or that, wherever he's at. And if his level is above mine, his jiu-jitsu will outperform mine. If my level is above his, my jiu-jitsu is going to outperform his. And what that kind of does is it almost takes the nerves away.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like I'm putting jiu-jitsu as like this third party entity in both of us. And it's like, hey, we've put the work in, we put the time in, and now we're going to see whose is better. And once you put it like that, it's like, dude, I don't know who's going to win and lose. I don't know what direction this is going to go, but what I know is the right person is going to win at the end.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, let's see now.
You take the ego out of it.
Yeah.
And it gets back to what we're saying. Like, that's why jiu-jitsu is the same as business or anything. Like, if you can't suck that ego out of something, then you're going to just stop your own growth.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I look at you and I'm like, I see that you still have the drive. You want to be better. You're not like, hey, I'm a black belt. I own my own academy, and I'm the big dog here. Like you showed that last night. Like, hey, you're the lion of the den, man. Like
yeah, but bro, the other side of being the lion of the den is I have a pack of 17 to 22-year-olds that just are salivating at the opportunity to fucking strangle me.
Oh yeah.
And bro, they're getting good fast. So it's like, if I want to continue to be one of the guys here, and like you just said, Father Time's going to catch up to us all. There will be a time when my 65-year-old ass is on the side coaching and mentoring. And if I roll, my athletes will know like, hey, let's give coach a flow roll. It's like when Gordon Ryan talks about rolling with John Danaher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He understands that's his master.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take care of him and I'm going to give him good training.
Yeah.
It's no longer about, I'm trying to smash you.
No.
But
the order's been set.
Yeah. But I'm still in, and I don't know how much longer I'm still in this, but I'm still in the mix for let's fucking tear it up. And so as long as I'm still in that mix, dude, I know there's a whole room full of people that are chasing that. So I want to take it as long as I can, Well,
I told Mike, I said it's kind of like a strange dynamic. I said, because these guys are coming in there. They're not just coming in there to train with a black belt that owns his academy. You're Greg Anderson.
Which is bizarre in itself.
we both said that because I feel like we kind of both got to know you, like especially him. Obviously, you were legit friends, but I kind of watched this whole thing. So,
yeah.
So you're like that original dude that I saw in a video to me still, So it's funny watching these younger guys come in, but they're giving you their best shot. Yeah. This is my shot at Greg Anderson. They're going to go tell all their buddies how their role with Greg Anderson was,
And bro, you want to know what's funny is what I've found lately is what brings out my best jujitsu. It's not competition, and I wish it were. Some guys are wired to be fierce competitors. Lappin, Joao. I've had some really good success competing, and I've also been fucking humiliated a lot competing too. And so it is what it is, right? Can I improve that? Will I? Probably. We'll see, right? But my whole point is the best version of me comes out when another very good grappler visits my academy.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, hey, let's see who wins and who loses. It's, I have 165 students and they have put a lot of faith in me being someone that they want to learn from, that they want to pull jiu-jitsu from. And so I feel like when I have visiting black belts, that's an opportunity to show my students, hey, you're not fucking paying some chump. Like, I'm not the best in the world, but I am damn good.
Yeah.
So watch this.
Yeah.
And those have been some of my favorite roles because it feels like, and when we're done, we slap and bump and hug and it's all good, But if you're visiting somewhere and you already have high level jiu-jitsu, you know how the game's played.
Yeah.
So we can get after it and have fun,
Dude, that's a competitive room you got. Like there's, like a varying body types, there's varying skill sets. Like everybody, I felt like there's an intensity in there that's not in every gym. And that's because they feed off you. That's how you are. Like, you're the same dude everywhere in any setting I've ever saw, you're like the same dude. So your academy, those guys feed off. Everybody come. I mean, I can't tell you. Like Mike and I talked. Like we had a freaking blast last night. We were all looking forward to this. There's been some shit talk back and forth. We were coming out here, and I think when we were texting a couple weeks ago, I sent you like a text reminding you I was coming out, and I said, "Bro, I'm fucking training for this," and I wasn't bullshitting. Like I knew I was coming out here. And hey, even though these are some of my closest friends now, like Mike and Craig, and dude, they're coming after me.
Yeah.
And I'm coming after them because we all want to shine. We all want, and it's not at all in a bad way, but that's what we want to do.
In a good way.
Yeah.
No, I tell my students all the time, I was like, there's not an easy role in this room. No. There's not an easy role in this room. And that is a byproduct of every single last one of you just willing to put in the work. And dude, it's getting to the point where it's like, I don't want to say it's frustrating, but it surprises me because, dude, I've been a black belt for 7 years now. A person that's been training jiu-jitsu for a year, theoretically, I should be able to do whatever I want to them. But there's some of these up-and-comers, some of these young kids that just have developed tenacity and a ferociousness that I lock horns with them. And it's like, okay, this is a real role. I'm going to have to try to make sure that I don't get caught short and that I do everything fundamentally correct. So I beat this kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Skylar's a perfect example. I watched him armbar one of my brown belts on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck, dude? You know?
So,
but bro, that's how the game is played.
So was Skylar, he's the one that was there last night?
Yes.
So I told him last time I left, I said, bro, I'm going to be back in 3 or 4 months and we're going to roll. And I said, I expect you to be a fucking monster when I come back.
Yeah.
He's going to be, man. Like you can see it. And he's like, really? He's like excited, you know? And I said, bro, you're going to kill this. Just stick with it. Keep coming, showing up, you know, doing the work. And you're going to be a fucking problem for any of us, you know, like.
Bro, one of the best aspects for me being a coach now is watching someone come in off the streets with no jujitsu, and I can just hold them down and molest them. And then inside of a year, they're a problem. And it's like, you built that skill set on these mats. Like Skylar armbarred a brown belt because of a skill set that he's built on these mats. It gives me validity. It gives the gym validity. It gives the team validity. And it makes me realize is like, dude, it's like everything else in life. I'm sure me as a coach and a business owner, I have a long way to go, but I'm proud of the trajectory we're on. I'm proud of where the gym's come. Yeah. And that's like, you see people having success. Or dude, like I got a couple females like Rachel and Christy. Like Christy just got her blue belt. So that's where her level is at in her current jiu-jitsu journey. But it's like, dude, she couldn't do anything 2 years ago. And now, like one of my black belts texted me the other day. He's like, dude, I roll with Christy. I think she's the biggest problem in the gym.
Wow.
Because she has no quit in her. And it's just like attack, 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 attack.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, yes. Yeah. You know, it's just so cool, man.
I love watching the trajectory. We had these 2 guys come in our gym, and the kid's like 22 and the dad's like my age. He's like 47, you know, 44, maybe, I don't know, something like that, like mid 40s. The dad is a black belt in judo and competed on like the national team in Japan. But he had kind of gotten out of shape and let himself go. And then for some reason, they decided to do jujitsu and get involved in that. So this kid comes in, he's like jacked, 22, stud, you know, but they know no jujitsu. So they start off, they're both real timid. They're just getting smashed. I mean, even the dad, like I rolled with the dad, dude, he knew nothing when he hit the ground, like basically, you know. The dad's now lost like 25, 30 pounds. He's got confidence. Now, you used to walk in, they had their heads down and, you know, they'd be like all sheepish. Now I walk in, he's like high-fiving me, shaking my hand, you know. The sun has come like way around and he's turned into like a beast, you know. And I kept pumping him up. I'm like, bro, you're going to get it, man. You're going to get it. You know, like at first when he started rolling, like he's got a gas tank for days. He's 22 years old. He's a stud. You know, I'd have to like, you know, I'd hold him down, kind of do it. Now he's like, oh, you know,
just so awesome.
Yeah, he's a tough roll now, and he's one of the dudes. When I walk in a room and look around, I remember Vic saying, he's like, "Shit, man, I hate to walk into Ivan's and see Rob there." You know, like you walk in, you
got your rivals or the roles that you know.
Yeah, now he's one of those dudes. I walk in and I see him there, and I'm like, "Fuck, man!" When you know, I know this is going to be a freaking like, you know, to the death, as you say. Like, you know, that's how those guys go. And I tell a lot of people, you know, everybody's down on some of these younger guys, and you know, they're this, they're that. I'm like, man, I know a whole bunch that aren't. I know a whole bunch of these younger guys that are
100. Yeah, for sure, bro. And maybe it's because our sample group is people that are doing something a little outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So right there, you take that fucking entitled millennial attitude that everybody's talking about, and I don't see that with the kids that I'm training. I'll tell you what I do see though is that the little kids, 6, 7, 8, 9, bro, some of those kids, they can't even do a somersault. They can't do a cartwheel. They can't do a shrimp. And it's like, I feel like we're starting to see the results of a lifetime on a tablet instead of a lifetime climbing trees.
Yeah.
And fucking riding your bike around the neighborhood.
Right.
And it's like, fuck, man. And so I tell my kids, and were you there early enough to see any of the kids' class yesterday?
Just saw the end, but when Mike and I come by, like the other day, I watched a good bit of it because we come by and watched his kids. And
so like,
I love how you do. I love the one thing you did, dude. You guys start out, you're doing physical shit. They're pulling human bodies. They're moving weight. They're like, I think that those kids aren't doing that anymore. Absent that.
No, and I tell my kids, I said, I want you to hit a fireman carry.
Yeah,
pick that person up and carry them to the other side of the gym. And I said, you think that this is just about fighting? I said, what if your house catches fire and and it's you that needs to pull your little sister out of the house?
Yeah.
You want to know how to drag a human being? You want to know how to pick someone up, throw them over your shoulder? So you may be a 9-year-old kid, but the time to start developing some skills that you can carry for the rest of your life is right now.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it's cool, man. Watching a 9-year-old drag another kid around the room for 2 minutes. And it's like, you guys are capable of more than you think you are. You know, yeah. That's why I do that leg raise drill at the end too. It's like, keep your feet off the ground for 6 inches for 2 minutes. And I do it with them.
Yeah.
Because I tell them, I said, putting your feet on the ground is a choice. You're choosing to quit. And I said, and if you want to be a fighter, you got to get rid of the quit inside of you. And, bro, it's nothing. I used to not like kids class.
Yeah.
But then again, talking to Lappin and developing my gym from a professional standpoint, if you don't have kids class, you're not going to succeed.
No.
Period.
I told Novak, I said, Greg is growing a garden of savages.
Yeah.
You know, you're planting the seed and then you're developing and, you know,
But this is one of my favorite aspects of kids class. And you just touched on it you said the father-son signed up, right? And those people are 22 and 45 or whatever. But what I've seen a lot is dad brings in his 6-year-old, 8-year-old son, watches a couple practices, and then is like, I want to try this. And then they try it. And now you have an activity to share with your child. And now you have something in common. And now you can talk about the lesson and you can say, oh, what did you think about tonight? And yeah, well, I couldn't get that triangle set up to work. And like now Tyler and his son, Vinny, dude, they're talking about jujitsu all the time. Yeah. Vinny's like 10 or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you're creating these bonds as a parent with that relationship with your child. Because, dude, what other athletic endeavor can you do as a child and share it with your dad?
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
know, not very many, you know, like sure, you can go mountain biking or snowboarding, but something that's an actual, like an art, you know,
and see the benefits in each other, you know, like if you commit to this, you can't help but to see the benefits. You know, the guy that owns our gym, he said, I've never saw anybody come in here, no matter how bad they were, and not get some level of better.
Yeah.
You know,
fuck, bro. Yeah.
You know, you may never be a guy that's going to be competition ready, and you may never have lapping abs or anything, but you're going to get better. You're going to feel good. And to see that in a family. And
I always tell everybody, man, it's like, there's no secret here.
No,
there's no secret to your growth. There's no formula. There's nothing being withheld. I have 2 requirements of my students: effort and positivity. You show up with good energy and then you put effort into training. Sky's the fucking limit for you.
Right.
And I always say, look at the wall, because that's where I have my frames of Joao and Buchecha, my 2 coaches that are world championship level. I said, that's their formula.
Right.
Consistency and good vibes.
Yeah.
And now you'll be as good as you let yourself get, you know?
And then you'll see that same formula that you're teaching them. They can apply that to their marriage, to their business life, you know, because it's really all the same. Everything is effort in and out, you know, whatever you put into it's what you're going to get out of it, you know, and jujitsu is the same way. Business is the same way, you know, friendships, relationships, you know, I kind of love some of the things we do. Like, you know, we all did like the shirtless picture last night.
Yeah.
Well, we know that's coming up when we get together.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, like you said, nobody wants to be the fat guy. And I remember at the Guns and Gis, dude, you said that like 20 times, like it bothered you. Like
it did bother me.
Yeah, just like it bothered me that
I had to lean out for the next Guns and Gis. And I was like, fuck,
we both weren't happy, and that bothered us. We know that's coming up, you know, and that's so healthy that you know, to have that mindset that,
of course it is.
Hey, we know when we get together, every time I see you, if I want you to be like, yeah, Ron got a little better, you know, he leveled up, you know, he did a little bit of this, and I see it in you. Like Novak said, he's like, damn, he said, Greg is in like elite athlete shape right now. And I said, fuck yeah, he is, man. I mean, we're all watching each other. Let's face it, like that's just the way it is. And kind of our little extended tribe we've got here that everybody's watching what everybody does and everybody wants to see everybody get better.
Yeah.
And, the next time I come out, I don't want Mike to double lapel me into your CrossFit gym. Like, I want to have a solution for that.
Yeah. Well, fuck, man. We're coming up on 2.5 hours.
Really? Shit.
If you got time, I wanted to shoot out to the property real quick.
Bro, that will make my trip.
Okay.
That'll be like...
Because we got the Lappins coming in here in a couple hours, so we're going to pick the house up and get it all ready.
Sweet.
But I told Jenny, I said, I want to have enough time. I want to drive Ron out there real quick and just show him up. So anything else on your mind before we wrap it up then?
Man, just, hey, commit to training. If anybody wants to talk about it or talk about getting started, you can hit me up on Instagram, Real Ron Florida.
Okay, I'll tag you in the show notes as well.
Sweet.
And that's one thing that I like about this podcast is I try and have real people on that are accessible.
Yeah.
And Tyler gets it a lot. Like after he does an episode, people are reaching out to him and talking to him. And so like if I want to build a community around this podcast, just like I've done at my gym, it's fun to interact with people.
Hell yeah.
So if you listen to this episode and you feel like, dude, I'm that retired cop, or I'm trying to start a real estate company, like, dude, hit Ron up.
Hey,
see,
man.
See what's up with it. That's how this works. And you never know what little connection might be the catalyst to kind of launch you to that next phase of life.
Hey, if you're around Tampa, Florida, and you're thinking about getting involved in real estate and you're a retired cop or coming out of the military and looking for something, absolutely hit me up. I'd be glad to help somebody get started, walk them through it, tell them what it is, tell them what it isn't. Just like jujitsu, man. I'm not selling snake oil. I'll be real honest with you about what it looks like, and maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. But I think a lot of people would be surprised. That Andy said something during one of his podcasts, like back in the day. I think he referenced like some study that said like, why are all these Navy SEALs coming out and then they're just like killers in the business world? Well, guys that have been in the police or military, if you can learn to perform under stress, and if you can learn to make these rapid decisions, and if you're comfortable, you can probably do business pretty easily if you just put your mind to it and commit to it. It's not that much different, man. Mm-hmm. It's really not. You'd probably be surprised the skill set you bring that you don't even know you have.
Yeah, no, I like that, man. And like, I actually heard the other Andy say, Andy Frisella, I was listening to his podcast yesterday, and he goes, dude, I have a friend that's worth $200 million, and he can't spell. Like when he's sending me emails, he gets his R's and his hours backwards all the time. And he goes, and it like drives me nuts to see.
Yeah.
But his company is worth $200 million. And the reason he said that is because like, dude, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. You don't have to be the most talented guy in the room. You have to be the guy in the room that's willing to put the work in and put it out there and give it a shot.
Yeah.
And if you do those things, there's a good chance you can fucking figure out a way to win.
And one more thing about jujitsu is for everybody. If I figured out a way to navigate a jujitsu game with, my, I don't want to say limitations, but, I've had some physical, impairments or whatever you want to call them. If I figured out how to craft a decent jujitsu game and have fun with it, then trust me, like anybody can. And I remember I heard a conversation. I think you said something you and Joel had about, they were talking about promoting a guy, but he had a shitty guard game. And Joel said, you don't have to be masterclass at every, I don't have the greatest guard game. I'm more of a top heavy game. I'm not going inverted. I'm not.
I mean, Joel's exact words were, "Can a fish climb a tree?"
Right.
That's what he said to me.
Exactly.
Can a fish climb a tree? And I'm like, of course he has some Brazilian fable to like tie it all together. Yeah. But he's like, dude, if you're a shark in the water, then maybe you don't need to be able to climb trees.
Exactly.
Like, so if you're really good where you're good, and you can take the fight to where you're good. All right, we're starting to talk about purple and brown belt level shit, right?
Fuck yeah, 100%. So there will be something in that jiu-jitsu game you can attach to. There will be something you can kind of make your thing. Maybe your thing. I love side control, bro. I'd rather be in side control than mount.
Me too.
You'll find something that you dig and something that you make your thing. There will be something, I promise you. So just give it a try, commit to it, do 90 days. Promise yourself, have a talk with your inner bitch, have a talk with, whatever is limiting you, and just commit to it. Give it 90 days, come out to Guns and Gis, do something that, I think that what you guys have going on there, I wish more people could come. I've told all my friends, I'm coming back to class 4 because all my friends know, hey, if you want to go and you're scared to go by yourself, I'll fucking go with you.
Yeah.
You know, I'll pay for the hotel room. I'll drive you out there, the whole goddamn, whatever it takes. Like if you want to go. So I'm bringing a buddy out to class 4 because he'd been thinking about going.
Nice, dude.
But, you know, he wouldn't. I was like, dude, come on. I made him in front of me. I said, get your goddamn computer out.
Log in and set
it up. I made him sign up, and I signed up next to him. I said, there you go. We're going.
Nice, dude. No, and the last thing I'll say on Guns and Gis is like we have class 4 and 5 available now. 4 sold out already. 5 is still available, but I think we're at like 60-something% full. But like 25 to 30% of our classes lately, since class 3, 4, and 5, are repeat customers.
It's become an accountability thing for me.
That's what I'm saying. And people are feeling like, dude, I went there for the week and I got the training, and it's all the stuff we already talked about, right? With the vibes and the right people that are encouraging you and that want to see you succeed. Well, fuck, all right, it's been a couple months. Let's revisit those guys. Let's revisit that. Let's light the fire again and stoke it a little bit. And it's becoming an accountability thing. Like Wes is coming back next one too, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
so absolutely. There you go. It's like these guys that have, I don't even want to say bought off on it because there's nothing to buy off on. They go there, they put in the work, then they see what it did for their life. Let's get some more of that going.
Yeah.
It's just fucking cool to see, man.
It's like a checkup. You know, I want to come once a year until I die because, you know, I know Lappin's going to tune my grip up maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you're like the minister of culture. I like hearing how you kind of break down everything and tie it all together with Joao and Lappin. And, you know, you're like the jack of all. You know, you go back and forth.
Yeah.
I feel a little sorry for you that you're like the guy Joao demonstrates everything on sometimes. And then you got a bunch of like, they're not even white belts, bro. They're no belts. And
yeah.
Like, can I see that 7 more times, Joao?
Yeah, the throws.
Yeah.
No, but I've been Joao's Uki for many years. So that's just normal life now.
Right.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate you coming out here and taking the time. And dude, we'll follow up on this maybe every year or something and just get in touch and watch your jiu-jitsu journey and share it with people because I think it's going to inspire somebody else to follow in your footsteps. So,
and that was the whole reason I wanted to come here. I just wanted to tell people a little bit about what I've done and what it's done for me. And you know, hey, if you guys ever had the goal of inspiring one person, I can assure you got one. That's me. And I'd like to have one too. You know, I'd like somebody to see what I did and say, man, if that 40-some-year-old guy could do it, you know, I'm nothing special. You know, if I did it, anybody can.
Yep. Well, cool, man. I appreciate it. And let's go check the property out.
Let's go, bro. Hit the woods.